for
Thank
us
you
to
for
do,
your patient
waiting
waiters
for
in
us to
chat.
do something.
All right, you feel like we can go, Kale? Should we start?
Absolutely, we can start.
All right. Hello, Pinpals fans. Kale and I are joined today by a very special guest. Welcome, Raymond Davidson.
Hello.
And this is not a podcast about his upcoming IFPA World Pinball Championship Tournament at District 82 in Wisconsin this coming June 5th, I believe, where he will be representing Team USA versus Team Eurovision at the Epstein Cup. And we're all rooting for you there, Ray Day. I know I'll be watching.
Ooh.
You looking forward to that?
Yeah, it's always a good time. Nice
Do,
and local too. Don't have to
do,
fly anywhere.
yeah, do we know who's streaming that?
Oh, Fox Cities. This
Okay,
Tom,
good.
Tom, I have to assume, yeah,
Yep.
District 82.
Tune in to Tom at Fox Cities Pinball. He always puts on a great stream.
Right, and there we have it. And I think this is particularly apt, Ray, to just start with this, as this is Memorial Day, and you will be carrying the American flag against all those Europeans and one Australian.
We had a defector.
That's true. That's true. And I believe, Kale, look at you with your first ever donation. That you approved on this
Unbelievable.
thing.
Stringer Films, our first ever donation, because we finally cut that on. Because Serge was like, "You have to do this."
Not for me. I'm not even getting it.
Well,
I
I
said
know
Kale
you.
deserves it.
Yeah, you did it for me. Thank you so much. Congratulations.
Right, because usually my idea is to lose Kale money, and I was like, we got to change that for once. But anyway, no, this is not about tournament pinball. Although please do tune in. Tom over at Fox Cities Pinball, I'm almost sure, will be streaming the World Pinball Championship, which starts with this sort of Team USA versus Team Europe or Eurovision, if you will. But no, this is to be a deep dive into Ray's latest game, Star Wars: Fall of the Empire. Because the code is nearing completion and has nearly all planned features in it at this point, so it seemed like a good time for this deep dive. And just as an intro here, ideally on this show, we like to cover all games on their launch day with coverage of their layout and rules, even though it's early on code on those launch days. But I also like to do even deeper dives like this on those same games when they reach near 1.0 code, and that's what we're doing today. And it's especially a full circle moment to do this with you, Ray Day, because our second episode ever of this show was covering Star Wars: Fall of the Empire on its launch day. Here we are. Look at us, Kale. We were so much younger, right, Kale?
Yeah, those were the good old days.
Right. I had so much more hair then, I feel like.
Yep, me too.
And look, our episodes back then, this was under an hour. Could you believe it, Kale?
Wow.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, we're not going to be under an hour on this one. We were really naive back then. But another spoiler I want to give is for you and our viewers here is I like to do these deep dives on code, and I don't hold my opinion on things I like and things I don't like. It's all subjective, but I'll say what I like and don't like. But the spoiler here is that I think this code is great. And frankly, I wouldn't have asked you, Ray, to come on the show if I had bad things to say about it. It would be way too awkward. But the code on this game really is awesome. So that's why I was happy to have you on here today. And I hope to objectively prove that with Kale and, of course, the lead programmer himself, Raymond Davidson. So with that, let me pause. Or anything you want to add before we get into it?
I don't know. Just thank you. I'm honored to be here. And teach people how to play some Star Wars.
Yeah, and so what I thought we could do, kind of give you some structure of how we're going to do this today, is first I just want to start with some broader questions on your approach to code design, and then we will jump in, with a lot of details, including rules and all of that. And I suppose my question for you is, first maybe broad question is, how does the layout of a game affect your approach to designing rules in general, and how did this particular layout play into your design?
Yeah, I mean, your main modes, you want to figure out what level of kind of stacking and progression, and it was pretty challenging with Star Wars because there was so much content, and that was kind of what we wanted to make this game to set it apart. Was we're gonna have just a ton of content, ton of modes, ton of videos. Wanted to get it all in there. So how you progress, where like, can you hit the force? Can you advance towards modes while you're in another mode? Can you stack a mode with a multi-ball? Can you advance towards Falcon features while you're in a mode? All those things. And we kind of came up with the idea of oh, my cat is, hello. He misses me.
Hey, Kat.
Sorry. We came up with the idea that you can pretty much work towards other stuff whenever. But you can't kind of stack. There's very limited actual things you can do at the same exact time. So that way, otherwise, if you're locked into a force mission, you can't make if you couldn't make progress on the Falcon or couldn't make progress on Java, or if you're in a Java mode and you couldn't make progress on the force missions, it would just be really hard to get through everything because you'd have to come out of a mode and now you got to requalify mode. Whereas the way we've done it, I kind of wanted it so you're pretty much always something is always lit because you're kind of secretly working towards things while you're in things. You'll come out of a mode and you'll probably have hit some force targets, or you come out of something, you can start the Java mode, and then of course it's pinball, so I figured, well, you can stack a mode with a multi-ball because that's pinball and it's fun. And there's even a secret way to stack 2 multi-balls if you do it right, which Andrew actually was a fan of. He kind of left that in there. He put it in there and was like, "Is this okay? Is this what you wanted? I kind of like it." I'm like, "Yeah, that's fine."
That's like getting Lightspeed all the way to the one shot before, and then Hoth, and then Lightspeed.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Got it. And what about, like, what you've designed them for so many layouts, Rush, like 3 flipper kind of classic John Borg-ish layout, and this is a 2 flipper, like classic, it's also John Borg, obviously, but a fan layout. Does that change your approach to it, kind of how many flippers, what's the ball time, stuff like that? How deep or short or shallow, or is it just really theme-based? Does the layout kind of affect your decision-making, if that makes sense?
I mean, it can definitely affect what shots feed to what flippers, so that modes kind of flow naturally. That's kind of like the inspiration for like the Rancor mode, or Lando's bonus mission Rescue Luke is kind of like, this shot feeds to this shot, feeds to this shot, and try to keep the combo going. And then it's also helpful, especially in this game, that everything is a character, so I can use that in modes that feature the characters. Be like, okay, well, that makes sense. In this part of the scene, you want to hit this character's shot, so it's very easy to integrate it that way.
Yeah, and I see in the chat, Kale, we have multiple people asking for charts that want charts. Is it okay if we go to a chart right away? Is that too soon for charts? Which is,
please go to a chart.
Kale and Ray, our very first chart was related to Star Wars: Fall of the Empire on that second episode. In that, that we were talking about fan layouts. So I think this could be an opportunity for a segment we like to do on the show called Pinball Science Corner. Let's go to the song.
It's Pinball Science Corner, where the Pinpals break down a pinball rule using charts and graphs and science and fun. It's the Pinball Science Corner.
And thank you for sitting through that, guys. And by the way, we have people in chat saying that this is their favorite Stern game. And it's certainly one of my favorite codes, I think. And so the reason I'm doing this Pinball Science Corner, and I hope you all enjoy the segment because we might have a few of them today, but when this game came out, there were some people in the hobby were all like, oh, here's an easy fan layout. And Kale and I went through the data to show at that time that fan layouts have on average shorter ball times than non-fan layouts. This data that you're seeing here on the left side is from 8 months ago at Electric Bat for 4-player games, and kind of dividing fan layouts at the bat versus non-fan layouts. And at that time, we didn't have ball times for Star Wars. And, I looked at the Star Wars layout and I said, oh, this is going to have quick ball times. And that was even before considering the pop-up replacement. So my first question, and maybe, Ray, you intuitively know this, but can you guess what the average time of a 4-player, now that it's 8 months later, I have the data, of a 4-player game on Star Wars Fall of the Empire at Electric Bat, which does well, right, Kale, at Electric Bat?
Oh, incredibly well. Yes.
It's worth saying.
I'd probably put it in the John Wick zone, 23 minutes.
So this is the time at the bat for, are you ready for it? 14 minutes and 52 seconds. It's actually beating those other games. And that's right, it's even lower than other fan layouts. It single-handedly brings down the average time for fan layouts by a whole 1 minute. Shout out to John Schoppel, our local intrepid reporter for the Pinpals, for procuring the data here. Now, he also got me, Ray and Kale, the most recent data on all Insider-connected games at the bat. So the next data I'm going to show you goes to one-player games. So how do all the one-player Insider-connected games at the bat do? So let's go to that. And so what you're looking at is dividing between fan layouts at the electric bat, stern, insider connected fan layouts versus non-fan layouts, and then just looking at the average one-player game times for those two. And non-fan layouts are a full 22 seconds longer on average. So what I mean to say is, and this is a tough game, and I enjoyed tough games, but it's going to play faster than your kind
Well,
of
what's weird is
your
this
Godzillas.
data is showing that the Star Wars is like the second longest game.
Yeah, so I could explain that. The reason that is that the data I showed you previously was 8 months ago, and then now this is the data as of a month ago. So that it's interesting that ball times can change over time. So
Okay,
this
well,
is
now that makes sense because Star Wars, you really have to play it before you start finding the shots and know
Right.
how to get the extra balls and the Jedi saves and things to extend your gameplay.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So it's going to shift around in there, but these fan layouts are always going to play faster than the non-fan layouts. And there's nothing wrong with either a game that plays long or a game that plays short, but it's just good to know, what you're getting into, and that you really have to be on your toes with Star Wars: Fall of the Empire. One of the things I found interesting about this data here is, at the bat they have one version of a Stern game, and it's usually the Pro. But with one particular game at the bat, they have both the Pro and the Premium. And the premium version of Pokemon plays faster than the Pro version by 8 seconds on average. And that's interesting because most people would say Stern Pros generally play faster. But I think Pokemon plays faster because it has the magnet, the premium, that is. So I just thought that was a little bonus factoid about Pokemon. Anything else you guys want to say about this chart?
It's beautiful.
Thank you. I'm getting better with my charts, right, Kel?
Well, whatever's helping you make them is getting way better.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Fair enough. You don't think I did? I drew all this myself, you son of a...
No.
All right. All right. So that's that. Okay.
Someone had a question in chat. Looks
Yeah.
like. Did you decide each shot based on a character? So that was kind of a joint decision. Borg kind of laid it out, and then I kind of double questioned things of like, well, if Luke is the one destroying the AT-AT, that lane should be the Luke shot. Originally, it was switched. I think that was the droid shot, and I think originally it was the R2D2 shot, and then now it's the both of them. So I switched those ones because I'm like, well, Luke's the one that takes down and also Luke is a main character and has a lot of modes and it makes sense to make, that shot that actually goes somewhere, a main shot beat Luke instead of the droid's shot. So that was like, I guess, my main character contribution. Everything else seemed to make sense for me. So I didn't, it was like, yeah, that makes sense to put that person there.
Yeah, and I think in this layout, as in all pinball layouts, some shots are going to be easy and some shots are going to be hard. How do you think about that in rules design?
How do I think about that?
Yeah, like dealing with what do you do with the easy shots versus the hard shot? I'll give you an example. Like the center ramp is probably the easy shot in the game, and it's repeatable. So how do you think about that approach to dealing with an relatively easy compared to other shots?
Right.
Repeatable.
Yeah, you have to light
shot.
that shot pretty sparingly because otherwise it will just take over, right? So, but you still want to include it because it's a nice reprieve. When the player sees a blinking arrow on a shot that's easy, they're like, yes, I can hit that shot, yes. But you can't just have it always be there because then you wouldn't hit any other shots. So you gotta sprinkle in the dessert with the main course,
Yeah, and can I say the three things I noticed you did with this, and tell me how like specific this was because of the easy repeatability of that shot in order to sort of nerf it. And it all has to do with the Falcon features. The center ramp is where it represents the Millennium Falcon going to light speed. And so you go through these Falcon features, one of the several mode trees in this game. The first one is a multi-ball, light speed multi-ball. And at the beginning of the game, you let players just shoot right in the center ramp as many times as they can, and that starts it. So it's sort of like good for the novices in that sense. But for later Falcon features, you can't just keep on spamming that ramp. You have to hit the much harder right ramp first. And then
right.
Unless
Unless you're on a premium, then you can just bash it when it's down, and that'll count instead of hitting the right ramp. So you have
that's
a
a hard
choice.
shot too.
Right, so you can choose on the premium, do I want to hit the safe right ramp or the easy but scary middle ramp, whereas the pro, I can't give you that choice because the middle one's always safe, so it forces you to hit the right ramp. And yeah, I kind of struggled because I wanted to try to figure out, the difficulty, and on the premium, it was really easy. It was like, oh yeah, the first multi-ball, just bash the center and you get a multi-ball. But on the pro, I was like, originally, and if you do a competition install, not like competition mode, but like where you go to the menus and you do the different presets and you do competition install, it will make the pro require a right ramp shot. And that was kind of my original intent, because the Falcon has different states and you can see the lights. Maybe when we get into the rules, there's like off, qualified, ready. And so originally, in order to turn on the Falcon, you always had to hit the right ramp. But I was like, there's no way anyone's going to see this on a pro with that setting. So I for the pro only, for the first one, you can just shoot the center ramp, just to kind of, give people a taste of the Falcon, because otherwise the right ramp would probably gate a lot of people from ever seeing it.
And once you're one shot away from this multi-ball, so you hit it several times, it's now one shot away. It seems like so the center ramp is lit to start the multi-ball, but also all the other shots are lit in the game to increase the, if you want to you have a timer where you have to hit the center ramp, but if you want to push your luck, you could hit the other shots in the game to increase the value of the jackpots in the Lightspeed multi-ball. Is that correct?
Yeah, yep. So each shot you hit will boost it like 5 times more than it would like in the multi-ball. So once you're in the multi-ball and you're hitting jackpots, they go up, a little bit. I don't know what the number is, like 50,000 or something. But if every time you hit a shot during that build phase, it would increase the jackpots by 250,000. And then your super jackpot is, I think, 10 times whatever that value is. So if you do a lot of investment up front, then your multi-ball will pay off right away. Or you can just say, I just want to start the multi-ball. I'll build it in the multi-ball, but it'll be harder. You'll have to hit more shots in the multi-ball.
Yeah, I think for me, like why that's such great design is that you're tying this multi-ball to an easy shot for novices, but you're trying to lure the expert players away from the easy shot, towards harder shots that they might, biff, and then they drain, and then they lose that multi-ball. It kind of reminds me of the T-Rex multi-ball in Jurassic Park in that way. And I think it's just so good for when you tie multi-ball to an easy shot.
I definitely borrowed from Keith's Jurassic Park T-Rex rule for sure.
And nothing wrong with that, by the way. I think it's a good rule. We got a question from chat here. Does a game like Fall of the Empire, where the majority of the screen assets are video clips, does that greatly accelerate development time or hinder it? What do you say, Ray?
Yes or no. It accelerates some parts and it decelerates others. So, it ends up being a wash. But it is nice once you figure out all the clips and you get them all approved and now you have them edited and waiting in the wings. I'm able to just, go and implement a new mode. So that's definitely nice. You're not, waiting for art. But, there's other downsides where you have to get every single clip and the audio approved ahead of time, and sometimes it takes long, sometimes it takes short to get those approved, and then sometimes they just don't make good awards. Like, you'll have clips, but no idea, like, I can't really use this, right? And so then you'll have to kind of get creative of, like, I can't just make art, I have to use a clip. Backgrounds are really hard to do that with, right? Because there's not a lot of just background clips. So that had to get kind of creative with some of those and that sort of thing.
And Ray, I don't know how much of this you can talk about, but do you ever look at insider connected data to adjust rules?
Yeah, there's I can see. So like when you go to your app and you see the percentages of like how many people have got that achievement or whatever. I definitely use that, and of course I can see like a more detailed, but yeah. Oh wow, look, he's got it all right there.
Yeah, Serge, you can bring up any topic and Serge will have a chart.
I'm ready. Look, I know this is heavy on charts to start with. Should I define this first?
Useful. It's definitely useful to see how often people are getting things. And if they're not getting them enough, make them easier. Or if people are doing, the same things and not others, kind of give some incentives for those.
Yeah, should we dive into the insider achievement side of things first, or do you want to go more to rules first? What do you guys want to do?
You call it, whatever.
All right, we'll come back to this. We're going to come back to this, I tell you. But yeah, this is all that data, if you're curious, on all Stern games. Actually, every row here is an insider connected achievement. And, what game it is, on what's the name of the achievement, how do you achieve that achievement, and the achievement percentage, which is to say the percent of players that have ever logged into the game that have unlocked that achievement. So when you look at, for example, if I looked at, let's do it from easy to hard. So if you look at Star Wars Fall of the Empire, it has this sort of mix of easy onboarding achievements, like moderate progression achievements, and a large group of rare perfection and completion achievements. And here's on the easy side, here are like the top achievements. It's basically like that's good onboarding design, right? It's like the first layer of achievements is attached to things that players are very likely to encounter: skill shots, super skill shots, placing shot multipliers from the pop bumpers, starting modes, multi-balls, that sort of things. It gives players that kind of early insider connected satisfaction. Is that fair, Ray?
Oh yeah, yeah. You want the bleepy bloops, right? Right away.
Yeah. Beep, beep. That sound, right? It makes people feel good. Although, while we're on it, here's what I would say. What's interesting about this, I did actually a data analysis on all of, yes, that's right, all of the 32 insider connected games. And one thing about Star Wars: A Fall of the Empire is it's particularly polarized in the achievement percentage. There's a very sizable amount of achievements that have high percentages, like here, collect a skill shot, for example. But 50% of the achievements are only unlocked by fewer than 5% of players. My question, it has like 123 achievements to be specific, and like 62 of the achievements are below 5%. Is that an issue or not an issue? Like, do you feel like is there a secret right balance of having that generous front door in achievements versus that brutal back end?
I think it's good to have the ones that keep you coming back for more. And also, Star Wars is a little different because a lot of those 5% ones are probably, complete this particular mode, and there's, 3 versions of 8 characters, so there's like 24 of them. So if you just group that all together as complete a mode, which might be, or maybe even if you group them into 8s, right? Like another game might have 8 modes or whatever. If you added those together for complete any mission with this person or whatever, you might get more, less jarring numbers. So I think Star Wars is just unique. It's going to have fragmented achievements, just because not everyone who plays is going to play every mode, right? So it's going to be whatever one they happen to play. And if you saw on that chart there, it's kind of funny. The Han modes have like 54%, which because it's right up the middle, right? So they kind of
I'll show you that. Let's go back
kind
to
of
it.
expect to see that. Han versus
sorry.
Greedo, and then whereas Luke is a Han mode, and then Rebel Ship is the droids mode, right? So people flail into that target. Same with Welcome to Tatooine. People probably light the ball save from the ball save hitting the spinners, right?
Right. Balls. It's going to hit the spinner, and that's how you light your Jedi, to be clear.
Yeah. But then I do like to sprinkle in, and sometimes if people haven't gotten them in like a few releases, I might do something to make the achievement have a little more leeway. So like you showed a whole bunch of those 0.0% ones. I like to have like pretty hard ones that make you want to keep coming back, where it's like, oh, I was so close to getting that achievement, but I messed up at the last phase or whatever. And I think that's really important. But every once in a while I might get it too far off where it's like, oh, that's actually impossible. Like even a robot couldn't actually do that. And, then I might revisit it. An insider is really helpful for that, because if you literally have 0 people getting it out of, everybody, then, maybe I can make it a little easier. Yeah, that's interesting. So it looks like nobody's gotten any of those, huh? I'm sure somebody, I bet Captain Bizarre has some of those. Noah from...
That's funny. Yeah, here is, it's rounded, so here's the actual number, So
okay.
So when I say that, there is four. There are 4 that are actually 0. These are the 4.
Okay.
These are the 4 achievements that are actually at 0, where literally nobody has done it.
So I know that second one is actually bugged and impossible to do, so I need to fix that. But the other one's Perfect Rescue. I'm surprised. That one is hard, but I've gotten close to to do, but I mean, it
I
is
saw
hard
you on
because
stream get it close, if I recall.
I know, and if I would have set it up, yeah, exactly. I was like, if I would have done something differently, but it is ruthless because once it's like a 2-second combo, and if you miss a shot, then you're done. So that one's definitely pretty hard.
Yeah, some of those could be, you know, a situation where somebody has a ball trapped and they're trying to fish their phone out of their pocket so they can log in, then they lose the ball.
Yeah.
We've seen that happen a lot at the bat.
Yeah, no question.
Yeah, no, if you get one of these things done, you want to pull out that phone right away and I like having some of those achievements in there that are really tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll show you just. I actually do have some stats on it towards the end here. Let's go skip to that. No, don't be worried about how many slides there are. But but here is for Star Wars specifically, because we were talking about achievements. So let's just finish this up. That there are 123 achievements in the game, and for you less mathematically inclined people, the mean percentage that have ever logged in and completing it is 15% versus the median is 5%, and that's basically saying what I said earlier, which is that there's a bunch of achievements that are unlocked by a lot of people, and a bunch of really hard achievements that are not unlocked by people. So it's about what this is saying is about 50% of the achievements are under 5% unlocked. I believe I've said that right, and this is like min and max of it. So anyway.
Interesting.
Right.
Yeah,
I'm a charts guy,
that's
right?
cool.
All right. So thank you for lasting through yet another chart. We've gone for like 10 minutes, I feel like, and have already gone. No, we've gone for like 30 minutes, and have already gone through 2 charts. But we're getting there, I promise. So we're going to go back to this, and maybe what I wanted to kind of talk about is the main crux of the show today, is that. That, you know, having covered some general stuff, the Insider Connected, I wanted to cover methodically why this code is so great, and to give some structure to this objective conclusion that this code is great. I wanted to use my subjective criteria for great pinball code, and I thought we can go through them one by one and say what Star Wars Fall of the Empire does here with each one. So here are those criteria. My first question to you, Ray, on this point is, what do you think about this approach to analyzing pinball code? Is there anything you change about these criteria?
No, I'm just amazed. I don't know how you came up with them all because, yeah, they're so good. Like,
Well, you know, I added one more, but Serge never puts it in there.
okay.
Earnings.
Kale, what did I just put on the screen, you son of a...
Is that necessarily a code? I mean, it's kind of a whole tactic thing.
Ray, it's not. I just didn't want to disappoint Kale. I know Kale so well at this
But
point.
I guess code definitely could be a factor, right? And if people don't like the code, that they're not putting quarters in it.
It's a major factor, Ray.
Kale, I'll let you take this one before we get into my 10 criteria that I like to talk about. Kale, how does this game do when does the code encourage quarter drops? And that's what you analyze when you look at the code of a game. So I'll shut up for a little bit here, Kale, and you take it away.
100%. With all of the Stern machines, when a quarter drop goes up with good code drops, it happens every time with every...
Maybe the quarter drop is just, we can just get rid of the 10 categories and then just have the one.
But then what we would do with 2 hours worth of podcasting?
No, it's actually kind of just a good reinforcement, I guess, to see, you know, it's like a summary, executive summary of if you had to just give a number, right, between 0 and 10 of a game, you could just use that as kind of a catch-all, I guess.
I appreciate that. I promise, Ray, I wasn't fishing for compliments. And Kale, I promise, did we set this up beforehand where I was going to show that 11th criteria there?
No, I'm surprised. And thank you so much. You make me feel good, man.
Kale, I pay attention to you. That's what I'm trying to say. And just for those who are only listening here, which I don't know what you're up to, only listening, but, 10 criteria, moments when the adrenaline of playing pinball that's always there is elevated much higher in a single spike because something cool just happened in the game. Theme immersion, fairly self-explanatory, we'll get into it. Breadth is how many different things can you do in the game, and are they actually viable as a strategy? And here's where, when we cover this criteria, that's where we'll cover the rules of the game and also the strategy of the game. That will be our longest section, heads up to you both. Depth is where we focus on mini wizard modes and how many of them are in their game. If you do a lot of the things that you could do in breadth, what are the milestones in the future that you get from that? And then clarity, do players understand what to do while they're playing? Risk and reward, are there payoffs for executing on a tough strategy? Fair and balanced, does the game make you do the same thing over and over and over again? And innovation, is there something new being done with the code that hasn't been done before? Pacing, or like the feeling of I was so close. I like to call this the Elwyn Award, because it's like that feeling that you were always 1 or 2 shots away from something big happening, as you are in like almost all of his games. And then bugs, which is like the game might look and play great, but does it crash on you or freeze up? And obviously that matters, too, and it's an unsung hero. So anyway, with that, I thought let's dive in. And as I do, I want to give appropriate credit here to the whole Stern game. I know we're here interviewing Ray Day, the lead programmer of the game, but I know you weren't the only one doing this project, Ray, and I know Andrew Wilkening is there, and he did a lot of the lighting for the game. Is that right?
Yeah, Andrew helped a lot with getting it to the finish line. When we released the game and it had 20 whatever modes, that was a lot of Andrew's heavy lifting, and the lighting. Yeah, he did a lot of the like attract mode sweeps and pretty things like that for sure.
Yeah, and of course the audio's obviously you have the score, but there's
yeah,
also
we had so much audio. We had 2 audio people on this one. They kind of tag teamed it, where Bob Baffy did a bunch of the sequences, and then Jerry kind of stepped in for ones that he didn't have time to get to, or the date was coming up. It's like we needed a lot of audio help, because every clip had to get the audio pulled from them, and then of course the extra sounds for switches and chewy roars and whatnot.
Yep, and then on the mechanical side, shout out to John Rothermel, I hope I said that right, and Robert Blakeman, and of course designer John Borg, and then the producer of it all is John Blakely. So anyone I missed that I should have been given credit to here?
No, I think that's the core game team. I mean, there's of course all the people that work on every project at Stern, but that's the team.
Okay, cool. So with that, first up, moments, and when I talk about moments on this show, it's easy to point out the moments that are made because of the mechs in the game. Like in Star Wars, on the Pre-Min LE models, there's a force magnet below the flippers that can save your ball, and that is definitely an obvious pinball moment. But moments like that for me, I feel like are layups. In that, I mean, you have to like code it and make it work well. And that's cool. But I'm more interested in moments that are made entirely because of the programmer. So I mean to say, like in Jurassic Park. And somebody asked me what my favorite code is, and that's probably one of my favorite codes, or is that, or I should say rules, is that like you have that smart missile shot, and all it is an uppost that comes down. It's not like a pretty fancy mech. A lot of games have upposts, but that feeling of like 1, 2, 3, or 3, 2, 1, and then you have to make that smart missile shot, and if you do, it feels great. And Fall of Empire has those too. Of just, let's say, code-based. Do you think, is that okay, Ray, if we focus on the code-based ones? I mean, or maybe we should talk about all of them, right? But I'm.
Yeah, I mean, if it's a code-based moment, there sometimes is, sometimes isn't a matching mechanical thing with it. So we can, just focus on whatever gets you excited.
Right. I have one in mind. I don't know if you guys want to start with one in mind, or if you want me to just list them. There are a lot of them, but if you want me to list, or if you want to mention one. I don't know, Kale, or do you want to go for?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay.
Go for it, Serge.
I think for me, what I would say is the obvious one is to start like destroy the Death Star. And what works for me about it is that the flippers die, the full screen goes out, like the animation, the info on the screen goes away, and the animation just takes over, and the lights go crazy. And so what I thought I could do is, rather than talk about it, to show it. So I think this is it, and this is pretty sure you playing, Ray. So I'm going to show it, I'm going to be quiet, and then we'll talk about the moment afterwards. So just to set this up, you're in the Death Star multi-ball. Typically you need 4 shots to the Death Star over the course of 3 balls. You could also use skill shots to get there, because it spots a lock if you make a skill shot into the Death Star. But let's play it and talk on the other side.
The Death Star wanted to be blown up.
Oh,
Let's
sorry.
go. Wanted to be blown. Oh, I guess I
Sorry.
Yeah.
Let's go back to here.
Dude, this thing plays so sweet. All right, how greedy do we want? Oh, I guess how did it just suck it up there? The Death Star wanted to be blown up. Let's go. Look at that nice full screen explosion.
1 in a million.
Nice shot, kid.
Great shot, kid. That was 1 in a million.
Use the force.
The force will be with you always.
This game is tons of fun.
All right, now I'll stop.
Serge,
Yeah.
do you remember when I messaged you when I was at the arcade? I was playing by myself
It's a
during
true
the
story.
during the middle of the day, and this happened to me, and I wasn't expecting it. I'd never seen it before. Blew my freaking mind. You remember me messaging you, right?
I remember the podcast episode where you mentioned it.
He was very excited that way. And I've since done it. I didn't do it at that time, but I've since done it. And darn it, it
And
does
kind
feel
of-
good.
Kind of some fun trivia on that. Originally, the Death Star rules, you had to hit the different shots, and like you'd hit a jackpot and that one would go away, and so you'd have to like actually hit all the different jackpots. But for like media day, when the influencers got to play the game, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna make it on easy mode where you hit a shot and like that one will go off, and then you hit another shot and then they'll all come back on again, so you can you can just spray and pray and get the Death Star real good. And I just never changed it from that because it was so much fun, and it's hard enough to blow it up. So I was like, no, I don't think we need to make it any harder. But I did end up saving that for Death Star 2, where it's a little harder but also more rewarding, where you do have to hit the different shots. But yeah, so I'm glad you accidentally stumbled into it. That was kind of the goal.
Good deal. Yeah, it worked.
How much does the flippers? I mean, obviously it's a moment in the theme, and you're carrying out the moment of the theme in the game, and that matters for the moment too. But the flippers dying too, for me, is such like a cool effect, because it just says something big happened. Now it forces you to look up at the screen, which has now gone like big screen.
Right.
And so like how sparingly do you want to use that kind of flippers dying? For a big moment effect.
Yeah, no, it's a great way to do it. But yeah, you got to do it, every now and then where it makes sense, because it does take time away. We had to sit there and watch it. So if you did that, every time you completed a mode or something, it would get old pretty quick. So you gotta, pick and choose when to do it.
Yep.
I'll tell you a funny story about flippers dying in King Kong during Deadeye mode. So when we first got that game, people would turn the game off thinking it was broken. And we have a clipboard where people can write down problems with games. Constantly, people would write King Kong flippers are dying, until people got used to it. So that was pretty funny.
That is funny. Yeah, I think we even got some service emails about during Death Star the flippers dying. I'm like,
wow.
oh, that means they did the thing.
Yep.
So they must have got a bunch from for Jaws too, or King Kong too. But yeah, I mean it definitely teaches you.
Yeah, and I know in Soul Gem, that's another one where the flippers died. I feel like that was the first flip count mode that I know of, at least. And then there were several used after that. But if you use all your flips, then the flippers die, and that can be confusing if it's your first time there. That way, and yet it's fun. So other moments I have here on the Premium LE, there's this Minoc multi-ball. So I thought I would show that here, where to define it, I believe you get it after a few mystery awards there on the Premium, and then basically it's like a Attack from Mars strobe multi-ball. Is that fair?
Yeah, that was all Andrew. He had the idea. Because we had this whole Minoc scene that didn't really fit in any of the main character modes, and it didn't really seem appropriate for the Falcon, even though it's kind of related or whatever. And so we just thought it would be funny because the AFM strobe multi-ball rules. He kind of started as a joke. Andrew's like, wouldn't it be funny if we had a mode that just kept the visor down or the ramp down, that you just bash like Attack from Mars? I'm like, yeah, that would be fun. I mean, you wouldn't be able to do it on the Pro, but it would be a fun little Easter egg in the Premium. And we looked at what modes would be appropriate, and we're like, oh, yes, we didn't know what we were doing with this anyway. And the Minocs are kind of annoying, so it's like out of nowhere, right? It's like so. And that's kind of how we also triggered it too, because we didn't know how would we start it, and it's like, well, it could out of nowhere, yeah. So it's like the mystery reward just does it. You know.
Yeah, I love that. I actually love that. I'm going to show the moment of I'm going to call it out as a moment that's worth showing. And I think what makes it is especially the lighting work and the fact that
And Travis is even surprised.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. I'm going to be quiet here.
Showed Death Star 2 and immediately did nothing. Oh, but we're in Minot first. Never mind. Psych. This one is very similar to a multi-ball off attack from Mars, which for some reason I can't think of the name of it off the top of my head. I know somebody's screaming at me right now. But anyways, in this multi-ball, you're just simply going up the middle.
Yeah, and it works really well because you're in a dark cave. The GI is all off. Andrew was really good with the lights on it. He's like, I'm gonna make this, really cool with the flashers and the mood lighting, and he insisted that nothing should be able to be stacked with it, and you shouldn't be able to add a ball. The drop target should just always block your ball. It should just be fighting it. But eventually I did make it so you can add a ball, but you have to hit the drop target for like 3 spins. So if you hit that drop enough, you will eventually get the add a ball.
I did not know that.
Yeah, that was added in one of the recent code updates. It's like a little thing I snuck in as a compromise to Andrew's original vision of, no, it's just strobe multi-ball. I'm like, yeah, but all the other multi-balls you can add a ball, and this one would be more fun if you could add a ball.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you mentioned about the GI going dark here, general illumination lights going dark here and focusing on one shot, because I feel that's like an underappreciated part of why this game has good moments there, because of that lighting. So another moment I was thinking of is these bonus missions, all 8 of them, I would say. So just for people, we're going to go over the rules later, but if you start one of these character modes, any one of the 8 of them, and you beat them, that's the one where there are blue shots and white shots, and you have to finish the blue shots to finish the mode. But after you do that, if let's say you beat a Luke mode, then you have a bonus mission for Luke lit on the Luke shot. And all 8 are like uniquely coded and interesting, but one of them is the Yoda mission. And in Yoda, he's fading away and as he disappears. And so the GI gets progressively dark in that one too. So I feel like you're using that effect to good effect in a few times in the game. Is that fair?
Yeah, and it's hard. You don't want to overdo it, obviously, and you want to still be able to see the ball. So you try to keep some lights, on, but yeah, it's a pretty good effect, and I wanted to make each of the bonus missions feel unique based on their lighting, and they're really meant to have the expression lightings too. So if you don't have the expression lightings, you're kind of missing out quite a bit. But yeah, the GI does a good job even when you don't. Or if you can put speaker lights on all models as well, so you can put those in there.
So what I thought I could do, I'm not going to, I promise this is my last moment that I was going to talk about. If you want to bring up any L there, feel free to, of course. But I wanted to show that Yoda mission and kind of how you're using the GI and darkening it in that way, kind of on theme with Yoda disappearing. So again, how you're in that Yoda mode is you've hit some force stand-ups. Your first shot after hitting 4 stand-ups and lighting your character modes was a left orbit shot, which played a Yoda mode. Then you beat that Yoda mode, which had all those blue and white shots.
Right, so you got to get 5 blue shots to beat the Yoda mode. So you hit that last Luke shot, it'll say mission complete, and then that'll light your bonus mission.
Yep, so let's go to the bonus mission. And we're going to talk about the bonus missions a lot, throughout this episode, because I think because they came later, they weren't in the initial code, a lot of people didn't know about them, I think. And they are really impressive because they're very uniquely coded 8 new missions, basically, or modes, throughout the game. And they all have, they're also good scoring, by the way. They're like a strategically viable option when we talk about breadth and everything. But anyway, let me show the moment and why it's cool here.
Now, I think I do give you a nice little ball save when you start these. Yeah, so that way you don't die right away.
Yeah, well, big light show and everything.
I have a promise to keep. An old friend.
All right, so this mode is all about getting the final lesson from the Jedi Master before he ascends to Jedi Spirit. So my spinners are lit, and the way to progress in this mode is you have to get a certain number of spinners, but you can hit the white shots to boost the value. That'll come back.
Also for strategy, there's a ball save on this.
Oh, I got a multiplier on the left orbit too.
Oh, there you go.
And as the time's going by, you can actually tell the GI is sort of dimming as he's fading away.
Jedi Pole save is now available at the
Oh,
action
the left
button.
orbit is double, so if you can actually get it to go around the left orbit,
There's a couple spins.
so that's
Yeah,
100k
the
a
whole thing.
spin. Oh wait, we should log in. There's new
Now
achievements.
you can see it's a little darker now, and the expression lights you can see are kind of dimmer.
Oh,
I'm running out of time though. I need
Yeah, I
to.
want to
Style
at least show
points.
that.
Okay,
Style points.
so that was big.
Dark
Now
and
this
like that.
should. Oh, I need to hit that to reset my timer.
So you
Uh-oh.
could tell how
This is
what
gonna
your
be
timer
tricky.
is based on how dark your game is.
Hey!
Ooh, that's hard to do on the right out lane.
I got 5 seconds.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Backhand. Oh no!
Wait, it's okay. We didn't hit anything. Timer's still paused. Oh,
Look how dark that is. Are you watching?
Yeah.
2, 1.
no, Yoda, it's all dark. Wait. Ah.
All right.
Yeah,
That is
and it's
so
kind of cool. You don't even notice it's getting dark until all the lights come back on, and then you're like, "Whoa, where was I?" Like you actually get totally engrossed in it. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, Kale was watching that. Did that feel like a moment?
Oh, very much so. I've never
you're like-
seen that.
You were invested in that, weren't you? I was.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So anyway, that's our first criteria. Anything else like that? You know, I was just giving a few examples. There are more. Anything else that you guys, either of you, would want to add to this point?
No, just all the characters have kind of the bonus mission moments, and then it's kind of an easy moment to get to and kind of stupidly simple, but it is a lot of fun looping the super jackpot in Lightspeed
Lightspeed.
multi-ball.
Yeah, very much so. You know, in Lightspeed multi-ball, you hit a bunch of jackpots, and then your super jackpot is lit on that easy shot up the middle, and then it's on a timer. And we were saying before that it's an easy, repeatable shot, where normally you'd want to nerf that. But what I also like about how you handled it is you gave the player like satisfaction from lots of super jackpots, at least on a timer during Lightspeed. And so you could especially, I think the moment especially is if you could do 2 balls, you know, like like
Yes.
1 and 2, and you just keep on
Yep.
going with the left flipper perfectly there. That feels just really great. It's like a lot. I'm not here to compare games, but like it reminded me of Game of Thrones with the, you know, with the battering ram, and you have like a timer to get the super jackpot, except that it feels better to me in this game because of just the layout making you do the jump ramp with multiple balls, you know, like that.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, yeah, I totally agree with that one. So that's it for moments. Like I said, there's more, but
He's gone.
right there. Let's go
Okay.
back to, I'm sorry?
I was gonna say I don't know if you can turn the video down. It's a little loud, at least for
Oh,
me.
yeah.
Maybe not for everyone else.
Yeah,
I'll
you
do
know, I was going to suggest that once he started another one.
Okay, I promise. I have 2 left, but I will. I promise. Thank you guys. And sorry, chat. So next, let's talk about theme immersion. And when I talk about theme immersion, again, I want to stress that I'm talking about it in terms of rules design and code. Like obviously on the mechanical side, having a force magnet is theme immersive. And on the music side, of course, having the John Williams score is a theme immersive. And then you have hundreds of clips from the movies and all the call-outs, and all of that is, of course, theme immersive. But that isn't what I'm interested in on this show as we analyze the rules here. I'm more interested in how, with nothing but creative thoughts and zeros and ones, as a programmer, you're able to make the player feel the theme they care about so much. And we just showed, for example, Yoda in that mode, the GI, you know, turning off as he fades away. That exists. That code could exist on any game, in other words, you know, with just using the GI that sort of way. Or in Lightspeed multi-ball, like you just said, that you have a short window to send the balls through the jump ramp as fast as you can for the super jackpot, kind of giving the illusion of going into Lightspeed. And that you have 2 different Death Star multi-balls for the 2 different Death Stars, you know, from the theme and so forth. And when you destroy the first, the flippers die, and you feel like Luke shooting that perfect shot. So I'll pause there. You know, how do you go about, you know, separate from the mech, separate from the sounds, thinking about how to provide that theme immersion from a code perspective?
Is that a question?
Is that yeah? I'm sorry. My question was like, you have a big theme here with Star Wars, and you're going to be helped a little bit by the mech, by the force magnet.
Oh, so you're just saying? Oh, I see. What am I like? Just how do I go about it?
Yeah, how do you go about thinking about theme immersion, even beyond the mechs, just with things like Yoda fading out? Like you have to make a mode.
I mean
and make it feel something.
like for me, a lot of it is the shot mapping. So like I try to have anything Falcon related use like the center ramp and the right ramp, so that intuitively you're hitting that Falcon ramp and it makes the little vroom noise and whatnot. And then like the clips that kind of take you into the scene for like the bonus missions I have when the ball's held. I'll show like the full screen ones here and there as you make like checkpoints, and I think that kind of keeps you like you're following the movie, right? And also just in general chronology. Pinball's hard because everything happens in any order, so you have to balance that with things going in order, and so that was one of the challenge with just the force missions. And the way I solved that was like you can either skip to the checkpoints of the blue shots, or you can actually see the whole scene, but regardless it'll never play a clip out of order. Like it'll always keep you moving the story forward, because it'd be weird if you saw the last line of dialogue and then you see the first line of dialogue. So that's really important for theme immersion, so that you're not like, wait, what? And then of course you got to make some concessions to just pinball fun. So yes, it's weird that you can be on the Sarlacc pit battle while you're doing the Hoth multi-ball, right? People have pointed that out. It's like, well, it's fun, and also it's not like the scenes are they're doing their own thing separately. And it's and the feedback in this game I've tried to do immediate, where it's like when you hit a shot for a mode, you see that mode shot immediately. It might cancel out other things. It doesn't like queue up things, so you're not like looking up and you're like seeing a couple different scenes and you're like, that's weird. I just saw this. It's like, oh, I saw that because I hit the Jabba shot. I progressed that story. I progressed this story, and then of course, like I said, I have a maximum stacking where you can only ever have, a mode and a multi-ball, or in some cases the two multi-balls. So yeah, just kind of putting a little stop signs of kind of juggling everything, but keeping it story driven, and then also the moments kind of work hand in hand with the theme immersion, so they're kind of the similar category, right? Because if like that Yoda one, we were immersed in the theme, right? We were literally watching Yoda die, so that's kind of, I guess, an example.
Yeah, when you were talking about how like you have to put a theme in order, I was thinking about, and this might be too niche of a parallel to something in video games, but there's types of video games called Metroidvanias. Something like Hollow Knight, is one of them, where it's like there's a start point and there's an end point, and you have to get the player there to tell some sort of story, and yet you want to give the player sort of a bit more free will to explore different places in different orders.
Yep, and that's why you can play any mission from any of the three movies, because that's more fun for pinball. But once you're locked into one, that one is in order. Some things like the Falcon modes, I think, do actually go in order of the movie. Like you start when they're escaping from Tatooine, and then that's no moon, and because I thought that would kind of tell a fun story where you get to the wizard mode of never tell me the odds, right? That's like the ultimate climax of being on the Falcon, is when you're navigating the asteroid field. And so where I can, I tried to do, bring you along the story, but then other parts, it's like, well, it's pinball, so.
Yeah. Well, I think that covers theme immersion, which brings us to our largest deep dive here within the criteria, which is breadth. And that is to say, when you step up to the game, what do you have to do in the game? And all pinball games, modern pinball games, have a lot to do. And yet, when I watch quite a lot of pinball games, not to name them, if you actually told people, hey, how do I score in this game? It would be like, oh, you do this and then you do that. But in this game, there's a lot to do from the very beginning, and in my experience, there's really not one single viable strategy here like you see in a lot of games, and I know this for a fact because John Schoppel and I regularly play this together after League Night ends as part of our own internal type of tournament that we designed here. Ray, you want to hear about how our unique tournament? I'm hoping one day to make this IFPA sanctioned, but how it goes is that what we do is we pick a random game, such as like Star Wars Fall of the Empire, and each of us pick an objective. So in Star Wars, my objective might be whoever starts the most Jabba events gets a point. And his objective might be whoever starts the most Yoda modes gets a point.
Ah.
And we're not allowed to start any multi-balls, actually. And if we do, whenever we play Stern game doing this, we're like, no multi-balls. If you get a multi-ball, even accidentally, you have to drain down to one ball. So you have to play the entire game in single ball. And every game we play, there are 3 points up for grabs. So 1 for each objective, and also 1 for whoever has the highest score. So it's sort of a hybrid pin golf plus score.
Oh wow!
Where-
So you, oh, interesting. Do you ever
Yeah.
get in this, Kale?
Oh, absolutely. It's a blast. And I learned so much about the code, the rules.
I can
that we learned
imagine.
the
If you, yeah.
And then you have to decide strategically if you're going for objectives or score. Sometimes you're like blown out by score, but so you might just go for the objective. Let me start like 2 Yoda, 3 Yoda modes or something like that with the bonus mission. And we do this for multiple games. We call it the Nintendo Championship. It has nothing to do with Nintendo, but John and I both had brothers as kids, and we'd compete with them in Nintendo games, and we always just wanted to play one more game to beat them. And that's how we treat this. We always say, well, one more, game. Anyway, doing this for Star Wars, that was a digression, but doing this for Star Wars has shown me that there are like 10 different and valid ways to play this game. Like if you play the Leia missions and you beat it, and then you get into the Leia bonus mission, and then you beat that, then you're in a multi-ball, and then that's a whole other multi-ball that people don't even know about, I feel like, right? Would you agree with that argument?
Yeah, no, it actually is a pet peeve of mine when people ask me, how do I score big on X? And I'm like, well, if I did my job, that's not an answer. Like, I don't have an answer. Like, there's lots of things to score on X, and yeah, Star Wars, there isn't really, I mean, there's a couple of game plans where, generic, like, do you get your light speed going, maybe go for the skill shot for light locks for Hoth, but the game just quickly like explodes in possibilities, right? Where all of a sudden if you were on some sort of flow chart, it doesn't be like you're done. That path is, you end up changing pretty quick.
Yeah, I think you can make a valid argument for this game that it has the most breadth of any CERN game. I will try to make that argument as we go through this, but I think you could genuinely make a valid argument about it, that it has the most breadth, the most things you could do at the beginning of the game. And I really love how you phrased it, which is like, if you do your job, there shouldn't be do X, because there's a lot more than X that you could do, to get score. And I think people often in this game do X, but they're not right necessarily. There's a lot you could do that's not that X,
Right.
You could do all sorts of things.
Yeah, and like I said, even when you might start out doing X, but you end up doing Y, Z, A, B, C, D, F, G.
Yeah, absolutely. But let me try to prove it by getting into our 5 M's of pinball, which are modes, multi-balls, multipliers, missions, and miscellaneous category. But modes, first M, is where this game...
Don't forget money.
Don't forget money. Kale's 6th M, which is money. I will not, you're right, Kale. I didn't have a slide for that. I wish I did, Kale, but I don't. I should have set that up. But modes are where this game is really impressive, and we're going to begin this discussion with a fan favorite segment on this show. Are you guys ready for it? Kel tried to kill my segments. Kel, do you feel like you tried to kill my segments?
I did.
Right, and yet here they are. They're back. They're back again. You couldn't completely kill them. We're going to start with.
It's time
here
for
we go.
our deepest dive, where the Pinpals explore pinball so deeply it may cause some of our viewers to leave their bodies and get sleepy. Don't listen and try.
All right. Well, thank you guys for sitting through that segment. Don't you dare, Kel.
I forgot about that segment.
I know you did. I brought it back because you forgot about it. But look at, you're asleep there. You're having a good time, Kel.
Yeah.
This is where we dive into a very deep cave within the deep dive we're already in. And that's, for me, is pinball modes. So depending on how one defines pinball modes, Star Wars Fall of the Empire has the most modes of any pinball game that Stern has ever made. I feel confident with that answer. And I'm going to make the controversial argument that it might have the most modes of any game ever made, and I'll try to prove that. But before I get into that argument, Ray, can you give us your own definition of a pinball mode so we're at least all understanding each other correctly when we even use the term?
It's something that you have to start intentionally, so you have to hit a shot to start it, and it is sometimes timed, sometimes not timed, but there's a way where you're in the mode or you're not in the mode. And when you're in the mode, you're trying to get, progress in the mode. Usually, but not always, you can beat the mode. And it just provides, extra scoring on certain lit shots during that while it's active, and most modes will end when the ball ends. Although not all of them. I know Black Knight, you actually you continues your mode on the next ball, but I would still call that a mode because it's still timed. Whereas I wouldn't call I don't know if this exists, but if there was like some feature that you start on ball 1 and it will just keep sort of running even on balls 2 and 3 forever, or maybe until you beat it, that doesn't feel as much of a mode to me. I feel like it's got to have either a timed element to it, or it will end when the ball ends, like on Rush, right? Rush doesn't have a timer, but it will end when your ball ends, and you can beat it. So that's, I mean, that was a lot of words, but we're on the deepest dive, so.
That's right, and I think you nailed it with that definition. Can I add one thing and see if you agree that the mode has to belong to a set of things more than one? So, for example, like you said, you have to hit a shot or multiple shots to start the mode, but other modes could have started by that process. So, like Foo Fighters has 6 van modes, if you're not counting DC and Austin or whatever, you know, and you have to start it by getting white shots. And you know, you get enough white shots, you get the left ramp, and you start a mode. But there's more than just one mode there. Because otherwise, I'd be like, for example, the Star Wars Hurry Up, the Stormtroopers Hurry Up. Would you call that a mode?
I see. Okay. Yeah. No, I agree. Okay. So there has to be a family. It has to belong to a family.
Correct.
It can be a small family or a big family.
Right.
But modes need a family.
That's the only thing I would add to what you said. is what I believe in. And so I'm saying like the Stormtroopers Hurry Up is a feature. It's a hurry up. It's a thing. But I'd put it in like miscellaneous, not like a mode of a game. Mm-hmm. You might disagree though.
No, I think if it could have been a mode without a family if it was like, you know, you had to hit multiple shots and it was time. There's a big timer on screen and like it was more involved. But then I guess the family would be itself. Like maybe you can do multiple Stormtrooper modes or something.
Yeah, if there were more of those, like, so for example, like I would say Iron Maiden has 5 modes. And I would say John Wick has 7 modes. And Uncanny X-Men has 8 modes. And there's 1,000 features in the game. Multi-balls, hurry-ups, all sorts of things in these games. But I don't consider all those features modes. For me, modes are, you know, 5 here, 7 there, 8 here, that sort of thing.
So what about the, like Escape Nimrod in X-Men, where it's like, it's kind of a mode, but...
I consider that part of the 8 modes.
Okay.
Like, and there's a similarity. It's like a finishing shot. It just happens to be multiple finishing shots, you know, in that game. At least it's like the soul shard or something.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
all right. So, yep.
Well, Serge, you don't think we should pull up Dwight's chart that he sent us?
All right, Kale. Here's what happened. Kale, you want to say what happened? You want to say this one?
You go ahead. You can explain it better.
So look, I want to talk about modes. So I was asking a few programmers, hey, well, how do you define a mode? And we got a variety of different definitions out there. From like narrow, I think mine is fairly narrow of a definition. You may agree or disagree with it, but it's narrow. And then we asked Dwight, and he had the broadest definition imaginable. It was a very long text. And shout out to Dwight. We'd love to have you on the podcast too. But basically, even though it was a very long text, it came essentially down to all switches you hit are modes. You know, every time something happens in the game.
But it also included a graphic he built.
There was a graphic involved.
Yeah,
I was going to save it for when he's on the podcast.
Okay, it's amazing. You know, people need to see this thing.
All right, fine. I should have prepared it. I didn't prepare it. You're right. But we'll save that as a kind of a mystery for a future podcast. So there is some disagreement on this point, is what I'm saying. But I'm just saying, if you define it in the way I'm defining it now, I think that's where, you know, that's where I think Star Wars Fall of the Empire has so many modes. And then we're in our deep dive. So I said, Cal and Ray, that like we're talking about a family, but now we can talk about mode trees, where you can have multiple families of modes in a game. So let's take like Deadpool as another example. Deadpool has 5 modes in my definition. You know, Juggernaut, Mystique, Sabretooth, T-Rex, and Megalodon. But I would say that it has 2 different families or mode trees. One is the battles, and that they might be lit at the start of the ball 1, or you might have to hit the dead stand-up targets or drops on the premium to light the scoop to play a battle. Versus the quests, which is T-Rex and Megalodon, is also started at the scoop, but you have to do something completely different to light them. You have to hit the right orbit, which lights your chimichangas, and then you collect enough chimichangas, and then you hit the scoop, and then you start those. So they're all modes in that sense, but they're two different families or mode trees. Ray, how do you feel about that definition? Fair or not fair?
I think that's fair.
And that's why next, if we're okay with that mode tree definition, it not only does Star Wars have the most modes, but I would say it has the most mode trees of any Stern game. So I'm going to call 4 mode trees, and you tell me if you agree, right? Which are character modes. To get them, you have to hit the Force stand-ups and then make one of the 8 shots. Jabba events. To do that, you have to hit the drop and then go into the spinning cup. Falcon features, we talked about that straight up the middle. And then Vader modes, which are a series of inlanes alternating with the Mystery Award into the scoop. And these are all modes. They're all accessible events. They tightly focus on scenes from the theme. They're timed, to your point, Ray, earlier. They require multiple shots to complete, but they're all accessed very differently and independently from each other. I'll pause there. Would you buy that, Ray?
Yeah, that seems all accurate. No notes.
All right, good. I have a chart, but I'm holding myself back from too many charts at this point. Even I'm holding myself back. Kel, I can feel your thoughts in here. But I did say, as a little aside here, that I said that Star Wars.
I'm just having a side chat with Jeff about using AI. That's it.
Okay, fine.
Dirty
We gotta
pool.
get Jeff on this too. But for a little side point here, I said that Star Wars Fall of the Empire has the most mode trees of any Stern game at 4, and it does. But technically it's tied with one other game that also has great code that the community has embraced, which is James Bond 007. So that game, I would say, also has 4 mode trees. It has your villain modes. That's that far right ramp. It has the henchman modes, the side ramp. It has the Q modes, which are started in the scoop on the lower right. And then it has the Spectre weapons, which, you get the Spectre stand-ups around the missile, and then you hit that target, some stand-up target.
Yeah, and it does something really cool where they're like intentionally 4 mode trees that all kind of connect, right? Because there's the 6 different movies, each with a mode of each type. And that was really cool how they managed to make the mode trees kind of interact with each other and make sense so that I just thought it was really cool when I learned that's how it was set up. My mind was like, whoa, because there's actually a secret rule in Bond where if you play one of each type of mode from the same movie, like if you happen to play the Goldfinger weapon and the Goldfinger henchman mode and the villain. Goldfinger henchman or whatever, then your bondwoman actually won't go away at the end of the ball. It's like if you light them and if you hit the inner loop and so now you have your pink button.
Yeah.
If you happen to have all 4 from the movie that the Bond girl is in, your pink button won't go away on the next ball. It's like the stupidest rule, but I love it.
That's so deep. That's such a deep cut.
Yeah.
Right. That's so pure pinball depth, of rules. That's amazing. I did not know that, and that's great. And each of those and similar in Fall of the Empire has a mini wizard mode associated with. Like if you do all the villain modes or the hench modes or the Spectre weapons or Q branch, all of them have a mini wizard and similar things in Star Wars Fall of the Empire. That way.
And that was tough because there's so many Vader modes. I didn't want to make people play 8 Vader modes to get to I Am Your Father. So that ended up moving out of the Vader tree into the kind of the Force mission tree. And then the Vader modes got the dark side multi-ball, kind of qualified in its own way, kind of connected to those missions. And then the job events and Falcons work out nicely because there's only 3 of those modes. So that's an actual attainable number instead of, having to do 8 or 9 modes. And then the Force missions, because there's different characters, you have to do 4 different ones. So it's kind of a variable number of modes. But yeah, that is kind of the general blueprint of the different areas have their own different trees that lead to their own different, wizard modes.
And I said I wasn't going to do it, Ray and Kayla, and then I lied because the chat has demanded charts. I saw capital letters that said charts, charts, charts. And so I'm just going to show it just ever so briefly.
Drink.
Mode trees. So there are lots of games there's some games that have 0 mode trees because they don't have a traditional mode. You might hate me for saying Metallica Array. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying it doesn't. To me, it doesn't in the way that I would define it. I know it has, the seek and destroy, and it has like timed things, but they're not in a family to me. So that's why, I said I had a narrow definition. But anyway, there are many, many games that have one single mode tree. There's a few games that have 2 mode trees. And then when we get to 4 mode trees, that's where I have like Star Wars and James Bond here. And I'm listing them out as kind of the mode trees there. Now, if you're curious, I debated with myself, Ray and Kale, that there's nothing with 5, but you could consider that there is one game with 6 mode trees, depending on how you define it, Ray, which is like real deep dive, which is Hobbit, because it has 31 modes, and you start them on the right ramp. But there are 6 types of modes, and you have to do different things to get to qualify those modes. Like you have to hit these drop targets for the dwarves, but those drop targets for the elves, and those ones for the man, and that ramp for the Gandalf or whatever it is. So you could argue it either has 31 modes in one mode tree, or you could say it has 6 mode trees. It's kind of a debate, but I digress. So I didn't want to pretend that doesn't exist, but it's a complicated answer for that one.
That one, yeah, I could see both sides of that argument because, yeah, they're all, character modes, but because you have to qualify them differently, much like James Bond, you have to qualify the 4 different things differently.
Right, so I argued with myself on that one.
Yeah.
All right, but we're not here to make that argument, today. And also Chad is saying that I'm wrong, that Metallica does have modes. You could tell me I'm wrong, Ray. And I love Metallica. I just want to stress that. But for me, it's just the definition of family that takes them out of modes for me. But you don't have to agree with that definition.
Well, it has Crank It Up modes, part of the Crank It Up family.
They're just true. But I'm calling them mini wizard modes.
Right, because they're harder. They're more involved. Right, they're harder to light. But you could argue them as the modes, and getting the items is just how you light the modes. If you
It's a
really
fair
want
argument.
to be pedantic.
Right. All right. I'll go away from that.
But actually, I think you're right. They're more wizard modes because they start with a ball save and can't be stacked. Like once you start them, you can't start any multi-balls. So that kind of automatically removes them from the
unstackable.
Not automatically, right? But
I call them missions, at least.
Missions, yeah.
Right, like side quests, things that you do over the course of multiple balls. Typically, you don't have to do it over the course of multiple balls, but you typically do.
Yeah. All right. So are we done with the first M?
Yeah. Are we? Right. All right. So we're getting there, which is you tell me if we have to stop. But all right. So let's talk about. I thought we could actually even talk a little bit about each of these mode trees.
Okay. Yeah, we're diving deeper. Another layer.
Yes. So we're going to start with the character modes. So how you get them is you hit the 4 stand-ups, and that lights all the 8 shots to start a character mode. There is some nuance in how the 4 stand-ups get harder and harder, and you can do other things to make them easier to use the force targets, whether you have to, hit all of them individually, whether you could hit any of them, and those spot letters and that sort of thing. But generally, that's the idea, is you hit the 4 stand-ups. And I have a few questions here, Ray, from this. There are 8 shots that represent a different character mode, but you made 3 different modes for each character, with each having a different difficulty level. Why'd you take that approach?
Well, like I said, we just had so much content. We wanted to make this game be like the Star Wars game, like, make sure nobody got left out of their favorite scene, or just have a lot of content. And so, I had to put the modes in, and we had the layout and MXV, Mike Vinicor, he kind of helped with this as well, kind of pitched the idea of, when he was cutting the clips, he kind of put them in buckets of like, oh, this is like a Luke scene, this is like a Yoda scene, and at the end of it, we had all these buckets with all these different scenes, and then we kind of just mapped them, and then, we cherry-picked a little bit of like, these are the 3 best ones, and then, like maybe this one could be the special mode, and so, yeah, it just kind of came naturally from how Mike went through the video and just bucketed the scenes by character.
Yeah, and then there's a question from chat, and which is, if you're going to choose one mode here to start, do you have one in mind? And I guess, like, I'll pause there. I'll let you obviously answer that, and I'll be happy to give my thoughts too. But
Yeah, it's kind of a push and pull dynamic where the harder modes are worth more, but they're less shots available. And also there's the dynamic of if you beat a mode, now the modes are worth double. So, you know, the obvious choice would be to beat the easy mode, and now your medium and hard ones are worth double, and they were already worth more. But it's also more risky because now if you use up your spelling force and you're kind of cashing that in to play a harder mode, but it's harder, you might never hit the Death Star, you might die and not be able to cash in. So you could do the opposite, where early on when you're setting up your stack, you pick a hard mode to stack with a multi-ball or whatever, you make sure to beat the hard mode, and now you can cash in on the double easy modes, right? So you can go either direction really, based on what order, and you kind of, I mean, nobody's really picking, like, you can hit the Stormtrooper target to change all the different lights, but I think it's more important just to see what's there and kind of maybe use that, like, oh, I could shoot Han, but it's a hard mode, or I could shoot Leia, but it's an easy mode. Like, kind of see what the game's offering you and kind of make your choice based on that, I guess.
Yeah, and I love everything you said. And my answer to that is there is no answer. I would tell you an answer if I thought there was an answer. Like I would say like, oh, in Iron Maiden, like don't play Flight of Icarus because most of us can't combo ramps. Maybe you can, right? But like most of us can't, combo ramps, and so we're not going to find a lot of value in Flight of Icarus. So like do Fear of the Dark or something, or Hallowed. But like in this game, I wouldn't say which mode one should do because there's deep strategy in all of them. Like you said, beating a mode, it might be easier to beat a mode. You might think about how if you play a mode, you get 2x on those jackpots for subsequent multi-balls that are on that shot. And so you might go for a shot that is associated with jackpots or perhaps super jackpots in the multi-balls, which we didn't get to in the game. And then, of course, there's the bonus missions. Like maybe you really want to get to the Leia bonus mission because that was a multi-ball.
Yeah. So you kind of each player will kind of find what they like or what they think they're best at, and so the answer is different based on each, what you like shooting, what kind of modes you like. Do you like the idea of the Han mode is the easiest to start, and then its bonus mission is also pretty easy. You're just hitting like 7 shots and you're done, but you're not getting that many points out of it. But maybe that's enough for you. It's kind of like the people that pick Han in the 2017 Star Wars game, where you can play your video mode, go right into Hoth multi-ball right away, but you won't get very many points compared to someone who does R2-D2, Rescue the Princess, 20x multiplier, destroy the Death Star. So yeah, it kind of just depends on your play style.
Yeah, and then question from the chat is, do you choose the clips to match the mode design, or do you design the modes to match the clips? Like if you have a whole lot of clips, does that affect your decision of how to structure the mode?
Yeah, you start with the clips of this is the scene, and then you kind of build the mode. Like, how can I turn that into a mode? Like, oh, this scene makes sense to use these shots, or this scene makes sense for it to be a hurry up, or this scene makes sense for this type of mode or whatnot.
That reminds me of a particular, we said there's three different levels of difficulty character modes, and if you beat any one of them, of those 24 modes, then you unlock a bonus mode on that shot. We showed the Yoda one earlier, but that question does remind me to ask you about the Obi-Wan one in particular, that I was going to ask about, because this has 28 shots that must be hit. And it all in single ball play, which I believe, Ray, is the most shots needed to complete any single ball mode in all of pinball. Let me pause there. Tell me about that 28 shot mode.
So the idea was the scene was just really long, but I also didn't want to cut any of it because we have it, and people want to see Star Wars, and it was comically long that it's like, well, all the other bonus modes have their own thing going, like you shoot targets, shoot spinners, whatever. And I'm like, well, Obi-Wan's thing could just be, it's just really freaking long, and you can hit the same shot over and over if you want. Like, I don't take away shots. So if you just want to jam out on the right orbit, you can just jam out. You can just, or if you want to turn off your brain, just hit the Luke shot. You can just zone out. It's still faced with a little bit of criticism, and I don't know. Maybe in the future I could have some more escape hatches for that mode, but I I don't know. I'm still kind of going back and forth because I like the way the mode is. So I don't know.
I'll give you my vote for keeping it, and I'll tell you I'll make my argument for it is something you do. If somebody just heard a mode has 28 shots, they'd be like, that's crazy, and I won't do it. But there's an extra part here that I didn't get to yet, which is ball save checkpoints. So what you do is if you make the mode starts with a ball save. Ball save runs out, but once you make the 7th shot of the 28 shots that you have to hit, a ball save triggers. And then once you make 14 shot, a ball save triggers, and 21 shots, a ball save triggers. And to me, we're going to talk about innovation later in code. I've never seen that actually before. I've seen, obviously, let's say you're playing Cyborg multi-ball, and you get down to 1 ball, but you just make the last shot you need on the power jackpot shot, stand up or whatever, and then you bring in an add a ball, and that's a new ball save. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a single ball mode, in which you get ball save checkpoints as you progress through the mode. I don't think I've ever seen that before. You could tell me if you have, but I don't think that I've seen that in any game before.
Yeah, it's pretty rare. It might exist, but it's almost more of a side effect of modes that either turn into multi-balls or are multiple stages where maybe after you get a stage, it collects the balls, and then maybe the second stage starts with like a little bit of ball saver, but it's not as direct as the Obi-Wan one, I guess.
Right, and so that's why I think it's okay to do this, because you have ball save checkpoints. I think it can work, because I hadn't thought of that idea. I hadn't really seen that in a single ball mode. Like you said, like I've seen phases with multi-balls and they do that, but not with a single ball mode. But like John Schoppel beat me to this like last week. I had like a few 100 million points, and he got to this mode and he played it forever because of those ball save checkpoints, and he was able to make it like 23 shots or whatever. He didn't finish the mode, but he ended up getting like, over 100 million or whatever in it. And so it's itself a viable strategy is what I'm telling you, which is cool.
Cool. I'm glad we have a fan.
yeah, absolutely. So I think that was interesting. And then the last thing I was going to ask about this is that the modes start with like on any one of these 8 shots, but some of those shots just go. There's no staging area, which is like a term of art in pinball where the ball stops. Like in Deadpool, you hit the ball in the scoop, and then what mode are you going to pick? But if you hit a loop here, an orbit or whatever is what I mean, like the mode just starts. So was that challenging for you, like having to, from a coding perspective, of having to start modes?
Yeah, that was definitely an issue and kind of a risk of like, how do I make this work? But the ball save helps because if someone shoots it and you do a cool light effect that's distracting, or you show a big screen that's distracting, there's a ball save. And so as long as I do a cool light effect when it starts with an obvious sound cue and the ball save starts flashing, I think that's good enough as kind of an introduction to, whoa, you just did something, you started something. But it's better if every shot could stop the ball, right? If you could be so lucky. But
games
and
like
also
also have that
I
problem.
used it to my advantage on the speeder bike mode, where the first shot you want to hit is the Luke shot. So you shoot the right ramp, and then you want to immediately combo it into the Luke shot. So that kind of used that starting shot as an advantage. And yeah, I think that's probably the best example of that. But yeah, that was a good pickup on that.
I thank you. I'm an obsessive. So anyway, that was it for the character modes. And that's been, like I said, Walking Dead, like you hit the barn shot, there's no staging area. The mode just starts.
Right, and Jaws too.
Jaws too.
Well, actually, no,
It has
Jaws.
a post. It's all 5 shots are lit, but there's an up post that comes up and stops
That's
it.
right, yeah. But Walking Dead was the best example of that.
Right.
And you kind of touched on it. I don't know if you were gonna get. I guess we can get into that into the multi-ball section where you get bonuses for playing certain modes.
And we're doing it till the wheels fall off.
Okay.
All right. So, all right. Just moving. I won't go. Fortunately for you, I won't go. Or maybe not. Maybe you'd like to. Just to touch on these other mode trees. Like they are valuable in themselves. There's 3 separate modes: Java events, hit the drop target down, get into that spinning cup, and 3 modes start there. There's the Falcon features, the first one being light speed multi-ball. And then after that, you have to hit on the Pro a right ramp. On the Premium, you could also hit just the center dead end stand-up target to kind of re-enable your ability to qualify these Falcon features. So there's later modes like That's No Moon and Dogfight and Welcome to Cloud City. And then there's the Vader modes, which is you go through the inlanes, your 3 inlanes, you light them, then you get the mystery award, but you do it again, and then you get a Vader mode. And then there's 8 Vader modes separately, all in there. And those are, I found those to be moments too, because the lighting of the game changes, and it's all, red and all of that. So I don't know, anything, I know I went through quite quickly, but anything you'd want to add to anything I just said there?
No, that's pretty accurate on the other different modes and how you qualify them. The Falcon can be a little confusing if you're not looking for the actual light, like the
Falcon.
engines. On the Falcon mold, right, the toy, there's like blue engines, and that is the key to figuring out where you're at in the Falcon tree. Basically, if it's off, then you need to hit the right ramp, or on the premium, you can hit the center or the right ramp, either one, and that will work towards turning the lights on. Then once it's on, all you have to do is just loop the center ramp over and over and over again, and then it'll turn flashing, and when it's flashing, that will start the mode. And it's even more in depth on the first mode, which is the Lightspeed Escape, where it'll be flashing, but that won't start the multi-ball. That'll start the yellow arrows, and then you hit the Scion shot to start the multi-ball. So that's like 2 modes in one, right? It's Lightspeed Escape is the mode, and then you start Lightspeed multi-ball kind of on top of that. Originally, I actually had that mode require 3 center ramps to start the multi-ball. Like it was, you start the mode and you have the arrows, and it's like you can shoot the yellow arrows or you can hit the center, and after 3 center shots, the multi-ball starts. But I was like, that's just too many shots. Nobody's gonna start this multi-ball, so I just put it to 1, and but yeah, that's that Falcon features. Look at that light, and if you ever need to turn it on, hit the right ramp. If you want to, like, honestly, I don't think Never Tell Me the Odds, which is the wizard mode for the end of the Falcon features. Well, you mentioned Welcome to Cloud City. That's almost like after you play the wizard mode, now you can play that.
Yeah, there's a third one. It's really 3 modes than the one you just said. Never Tell Me the Odds,
right.
And then Welcome to Cloud City, right?
Yes, and I did that because A, chronology, right? I wanted to keep the modes in order, and B, I didn't want 3 was the right number before a wizard mode instead of 4. And so I was just gonna say, if you haven't played Never Tell Me the Odds, A, play it in the challenge mode right now in the gameplay menu, because you can. It got added as a challenge mode. So you can hit the action button or hit both flippers and choose it before you start a game. But B, if you're just playing for a high score and you've never seen that before, just focus on those Falcon modes. They're not that hard to start. Like just a couple of right ramps and then just a bunch of center ramps. People just usually don't end up playing Never Tell Me the Odds because there's all the other stuff going on, right? But Falcon modes are unique.
Strategy, in other words.
Yeah, I was just want to bring some attention to it. Also, Falcon features are the only modes that you can start with other stuff going on. So if you're in a Java mode, you can, I think you can start like that Snow Moon. I mean, maybe not. Maybe you can go one direction, not the other. Like they don't stop you. So if you start a Falcon mode, it doesn't stop you from starting a Java mode or starting a forest mission. I forget the exact details, but they're more liberal in terms of being able to mix and match with things. And then, yeah, Vader modes. Yeah, basically you can either play them quickly, just hit shots and get out of the mode, or you can hit, like, the special shot to multiply the shots.
For difficult modes, do you use player success data to tune them over time? That was a question we had. Like, do you test it with player test and then change it based on that?
Yeah, if I need to, it's something I can do. Just to, if something is way too hard or something, it can kind of dial it back a little bit. Or like extra balls, it's like people aren't getting enough extra balls. And I've been tweaking that balance. I'm still tweaking that balance because it's kind of hard. It's like you want to give them, but you don't want to give them too many, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the mode trees.
Oh, sorry. Another question for you, Ray. In a Fall of the Empire code update, you changed the drop target rules.
There was always a workaround where the operator could disable the drop target, and then it would it would compensate with the Sarlacc pit. But if it broke itself, it wouldn't disable itself. So I just added that because someone sent me like a video of the drop target just going brrr, like a machine gun for like 5 minutes, like it literally wouldn't stop, and I was like, oh, that's not good.
So we're on our M's here. We finished modes, and I just want to add with 24 character modes, 8 bonus character modes, 3 Jabba events, 4 Falcon features, 8 Vader modes. We're at about a total of 47 modes by my math, which is absolutely a record for Stern. I'd argue it's actually a record for any game ever made. I know which game some of you are going to respond back with that you think has more modes, but I disagree with you ahead of time. I just don't want to bring it up here as a comparison game while Ray is here because I think that's unfair to him. But I do think that this game actually has the most, at least how I would define modes, the most modes in a pinball game. That's what I say, Ray. Which
Is the
must have
game
been
you're
a bear.
thinking of, it have 96 of them by any chance?
That is correct, and I disagree that it has. I say it has 6 of them, is what I would say.
Okay, all right.
6 very long ones, by the way,
Yeah.
but I would say 6 of them. Okay, fine. All right, so next, what I thought we could talk about is multi-balls, and as complicated as it was to go over the modes in this game, the multi-balls are quite easy to describe. There are 3 main multi-balls. They're all right next to each other on the playfield. You know, you have your Hoth over here. You light the locks with the stand-up. You have your Death Star right over here. You just make that shot a bunch of times. You have your light speed here. You just make that shot a bunch of times. So the multi-balls are pretty easy to describe. Like, I'll pause there, Ray. Would you agree, like, they have fairly simple rules to qualify them, and how do you think about that, you know, what that kind of dynamic to make those easy?
Yeah, it's nice to have kind of like familiar things like 3 lock lights, and you know, we did it on the Death Star and we did it on the AT-AT, you know, Hoth multi-ball, and I just think that was just a good way to, you know, guide a player who has never played the game. At least they'll be able to start a multi-ball. You know, it's not a mystery of what you have to do. And, you know, it is a little boring, right? It's like, oh, it's just 3 locks multi-ball. But, you know, sometimes, and I think in this case, with how there's so much other stuff going on to think about, it worked out well just to have
something that's
very simple lighthouses to kind of guide you, you know.
Yeah, and they all have simple rules to start them, and they also all have simple rules to add a ball, which is just, you know, make this shot and get 10 spins, and that number the number of spins increases every time you use the add a ball. But get a bunch of spins in that spinning cup, and that's your add a ball green action button whenever you want the add a ball here.
And that'll go up each time you use it, so that way, you know, each multi ball you start is a little harder to get the add a balls, so you know the game doesn't go on forever. But easy the first time because people love, you know, it's fun to add a ball.
Chat asks Ray, at or AT-AT?
I usually say AT-AT, and people usually are like, no, it's at, and I'm just like, at sounds, it just sounds weird when I say it. So
Ray, I promise
like
you, if you said at, they'd say AT-AT. Okay, so that's what.
For the record, it's at.
I know you were going to say that, Kel. He played with the toys growing up. Even I was too, like.
Well, even
Ray was too young for it, and even I was too young for it, Kel.
And people of my age remember it as at because it's never mentioned in the movie, but in the commercials, the Kenner commercials for the toy, they called it at.
Right. Let's go on after our multi-balls to multipliers, which can feed back talking about the multi-balls. This game won our Pinpals Awards for best use of multipliers. So I could do some needless self-promotion to say, and a little bit of a meta commentary here. This is us giving the award to Star Wars on our Pinpals Award show for best use of multipliers. And I'll say for me why I like them, and then I'm happy to hear obviously what you have to say about it is, like, the game has one that's fairly easy to describe, pop bumpers. If you get, I believe it's 9 hits on the pops, that lights all of these 4 shot multipliers, you know, which last the rest of your ball. And you could, the next one you hit after hitting 9 pops, that's the ion cannon, and that's a shot multiplier on that shot. That one's fairly easy to describe. and then character multipliers is the other one. So the modes tie into the multipliers on the multi-balls. So by that I mean, let's say you play a Luke shot, from just play the Luke mode, the character mode. From then on, when you play multi-balls like the Hoth and the Lightspeed we talked about, if there's a jackpot lit on Luke and you hit it, it's worth 2x. But if you had beaten Luke mode, then it's worth 3x. And then if you had beaten the bonus mission behind the Luke mode, then it's worth 4x. So it's a particular type of shot multiplier. It's a shot multiplier that's conditionally only available in multi-ball. I'll pause there. That basically describes the multipliers. There's not like you can have modes that have faster shots and slower shots, and the faster blinking ones, those are worth more. Like, I don't mean that, but I think that basically sums up the multipliers. Is that fair, Ray?
Yeah, the force mode multipliers for the multi-balls and the ion cannon for general purpose multipliers. The character yellow combos are multiplier adjacent. They're not actually score multipliers, but I don't know where you wanted to get to that in the discussion.
We can get to it now. That was my miscellaneous, but I was going to say, like, you make a shot here, it goes down there, and then suddenly you have all these red names that are flashing, and then you make that shot, and if you do, it locks in a character combo. And the goal of locking in your character combos, there's a thing if you make one of them versus two of them, but the point is that it can help you in the multi-ball. And tell me if I say this right, Ray, which is that they don't award you more value when you make that jackpot shot, but a lot of the super jackpots require you to hit X jackpots. And if you now make that jackpot that had a character combo, the super jackpot is available earlier. I'll pause there. Did I say that right?
That is correct. So it's if you need 15 jackpots to light the Death Star Super, each one you hit with a yellow will either count as 2 or 3, depending on if it's half yellow or full yellow. We can get into that later. But yeah, so the yellow shots during multi-ball will progress you. And I went into this thinking some people play for score, some people play for progression. And the idea was, if you really want to see super jackpots in multi-ball, get some yellow combos before the multi-ball. If you really want to get big scores in your multi-ball, play as many missions as possible. And so, yeah, it helps in all the multi-balls. So in the Hoth multi-ball, you have to hit an increasing number of shots to light the AT-AT for the AT-AT letter. And so if you hit a yellow shot, it'll count as 2, And so you can kind of speed run the supers if you're aiming at those yellow shots, especially because in the Hoth multi-ball, when you hit a shot, it goes away and doesn't come back. So if you need to hit 4 unique shots, that can be a lot harder than just 2 shots you like with yellows on it, right? For example, and that would count the same. And then there's actually one extra benefit the yellow shots do. They actually do influence your score as well, which is they increase the jackpot again as if you had gotten a jackpot. So, for instance, let's say a Battle of Hoth jackpot is 500,000, and every time you hit one, the jackpot goes up by 250,000. Well, if you hit a yellow one, the jackpot will go up by 500,000. So, and in Lightspeed, it's actually really important in Lightspeed because the super jackpot is based on your regular jackpots, and every time you hit a jackpot in Lightspeed, it goes up a little bit. It goes up a little bit. So every time you get to that super round, you'll notice the first super round might be 3 million, but then when you get to it the second time, it might be 5 million. But if you're hitting jackpots in Lightspeed with the yellow characters, that's building your jackpots faster. So now your super is actually going to be higher if you get that going. And also in Death Star victory laps, it'll even help you there. You can get some really big victory laps if you have a lot of yellows. And then also in Hoth multi-ball, if you really want to get into like the minutia, the perfect setup would be hit a bunch of yellow shots so that your jackpot's growing really fast, then hit whatever mission ones you have multiplied last. So let's say you've beaten the Luke mission and you have 3x on the Luke fuck. I've seen a lot of people play multi-ball, and during multi-ball, you'll actually see Luke's portrait. If you want to highlight his little portrait there, Yeah, so when you're in multi-ball and you see that portrait flashing, it means you've got some sort of boost, either 2x or 3x jackpots. And a lot of people will go for those ones first, but you actually want to go for them last because the jackpot's getting bigger as you're hitting other shots. So then if you cap it with a triple jackpot, you know, you hit like 4 or 5 yellows or whatever, and now you got like a triple 3 million jackpot for, you know, 6 million or whatever. So that's kind of like the theoretical way to play the multi-balls, in mixing and matching the yellows with the forest multipliers. I don't know if that went over your head or not, but that's...
I'm with you, Ray. Kale,
okay.
I'll be testing you after the call. Are you ready for the test?
Oh, sorry, I was muted. Yeah, I'm with you here. We have a question from the chat, and I think this goes into the battle Ray, Day, and Ralph have.
Oh, the Ralph and Ray Day battle. How annoyed do I get with people complaining? It depends how they complain about it. If they're generally curious and asking like, hey, how does it work? How can I get better at it? Why did it do this? You know, I'll explain it. But when people just mash the button and then complain at me that their ball drained, it's a little annoying.
So do you want to tell us how it works?
Well, I mean, Borg designed it where if you look on the right side of where the shooter lane is, there's a gap. So the goal is to send the ball through that gap. So you have to, the magnet's right where the ball is. So you want to hit the button right, it dinks off of that thing. And so you want to hit the button like right as it dinks off of that so that it shoots it into the shooter lane.
Right. So it's a skill issue.
I mean, yes, it won't do that for you automatically. You have to time it and physically. It's almost like a magnet save on, you ever played like Jungle Lord or Grand Lizard where it kind of pulses it out of the out lanes?
Or even like Rick and Morty.
Yes, Rick and Morty, yes, exactly. So kind of think of it like that. But what's cool about the Jedi save is you get one pulse for every letter in Jedi, and, you know, if say the ball's coming down the other side, or sometimes you'll bozo it and the ball will just fall between your flippers and kind of bounce off the apron a little bit, or you like fumble it and the ball's kind of just, you can see it. It's like right there. You're like, dang it, I should have had that. And you can actually pull it back from the grave, and you can see that on our stream. I think the clip that that Serge showed earlier, and some clips that I've been putting on YouTube. I played a big game the other day where it's just a fun way to resurrect balls, but it's not automatic. But when you pull it off, it's like it feels really good because you're like, yes, I made that save happen. You know, it's almost like nudging, but with a magnet. But if that's not your jam, the premium, once you get the full Jedi, it will just automatically grab it and throw it back into play. And the Pro just has that version of it where you don't have the skill part when you have less than Jedi. In the Pro, when you have less than Jedi, you just don't have anything. And then once you get full Jedi, you have the automatic save. The Premium, when you have less than Jedi, you have a chance for these skill saves. But once you get full Jedi, then it kind of turns into the Pro where, okay, just hit the button and it will do the rest and save it for you. And you can actually tell the outlanes when you have less than full Jedi, they'll kind of blink slowly and kind of dimly to kind of tell you've got a little bit of the Force. But then once you have full Jedi on the Premium, they'll turn solid. And maybe that's what's confusing, is that there's the two different states. And so people think that it's the automatic state. So they hit the button and they think it'll save it for them. When in reality they just had little pulses. And I admit it can be confusing in that regard, but I kind of my hands were tied because Borg liked the pulse save. Originally it was just going to be the GoldenEye save. That was all it's going to be. But Borg really loved how fun it was to fling it into the shooter lane. And so I had to figure out a way to combine the pulse savings with the automatic save. And I thought thematically it made sense that you're building your Jedi prowess, right? And so you start off with just the Padawan ability But then once you get the full Jedi, now you can save anything.
Yeah, and I'll put it another simple way that I've learned, which is press it when either the ball is here or the ball is here. That's my opinion, because when it's here, it can fling it up,
Yep.
and when it's
Yeah.
here,
No.
it can fling it this
Honestly,
way.
yeah. Just get a Sharpie and just
This.
write like
Here.
press here, and I bet people would be a lot less confused.
Right. And I played it my very first time, the premium. I played the pro at the bat a lot, but I played the premium and lost by like 10 million points against Neil Graff because I blew it. I didn't know how to use it. I'm sorry. I didn't. I panicked and I pressed it at the wrong time. But I've now since learned here and here. That's where I'm pressing it.
Yep. And what's cool about the Jedi ball save too is in multi-ball, I thought it was really fun to be able to, if you want to like play with your food down there while the multi-ball is going on. So it disables the like auto save one and just does pulses only. So you can actually save a couple balls in multi-ball if you're good at them. You could save up to 4 balls if each pulse managed to perfectly save a ball. Whereas in the pro, you can't do that in multi-ball. So it's it's a give and take, and I'm pretty happy with how it landed, but you just gotta learn kind of how it works, and if you have any ideas on how to make it better, I'm all ears. I always want the best thing.
Something somebody said in chat was like a practice mode, like a challenge mode, maybe, where a la Transformers that Elizabeth is doing, where like you purposely try to get it like down the drain and press it at the right time. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean you can.
It would go down the center a lot.
You can
more
go
than it would
into.
go down.
I mean, it's not as good because you're not you. Actually, maybe it does use the action, but I don't know. But if you go into the Jedi magnet settings, you can, with the glass off, drop the ball there and press the magnet to activate it all you want. But yeah, so if you want to go into if you want to practice that way without having to hit spinners, right? Just go into the diagnostic menu. Someone said, how about make a premium work like the pro? But then what would be the point? Like you wouldn't be able to
Well, you could turn off the magnet. Like that is a setting, isn't it?
Yeah, you can do that, right? And then it doesn't
works.
use the magnet at all.
Right. I like how it works. I think it's a skill issue. It was a skill issue when I messed up, and so I don't mind that pinball is hard.
Yeah, I mean, I guess maybe what they're suggesting is you get rid of the pulsing entirely, so it's like the pro where you either have full Jedi and then it will automatically Beetlejuice save it, or you have if you have less than full Jedi, you don't get any magnet. Which, I mean, yeah, I could make that a setting, but it's kind of going behind Borg's back, or the designer intended you to save it through the hole that he gave you, right? So if I got rid of that functionality, I'm kind of removing part of the design.
Yeah, and I know, just to wrap up, like we started this by talking about the multipliers. I was going to say that I look at the character mode, but I also notice that these inserts represent the 8 character modes.
Good eye, Serge. Yes,
so,
those actually track your progress of what modes you've beaten. So if you're trying to get to the wizard mode of not a Jedi yet, you kind of have to do a little bit of eyeballing, but like if you see that you have whatever that light is, the one that's lit underneath Luke's green lightsaber, let's say.
Mm-hmm. Oh, sorry, I was doing.
Oh yeah,
one,
that
but...
works too. Yeah.
Okay, let's do that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this one is like this one.
Yep. Yeah, so they just go in order. So the 4, left to right, right to left. So yeah, if you're playing and you see those lights on, then that tells you which of the character modes you've played. And then in multi-ball, the portraits light up to just remind you, hey, this one's helpful, because you can't start force missions when you're in a multi-ball, so you might as well use those inserts that way,
Yeah. Well, I think we were, I swear, almost done with the M's, and we talked about modes. Don't you dare kill multi-balls and multipliers. The last few will be quicker. Missions. For me, a mission is like a side quest, something like a cyborg multi-ball or bounty in Jaws, something that's happening in the background of a game that builds to a late game achievement. And I think for me, the closest thing to that definition in this game is the dark side. where after you complete Vader mode, there's which you get by going through the inlanes, and first you get a mystery, then you go through the inlanes again, then you get a Vader mode, and there are 8 different Vader modes. But if you beat a Vader mode, there is a roving purple shot that stays lit for the rest of the ball, and as you go on to other events in the game, and every time you hit that purple shot, it gives you 5% of the points scored in all successfully completed Vader modes. And if you make 10 of those purple shots, you qualify the rarely seen dark side multi-ball. Anything I missed there, Ray?
That is correct. It's Andrew actually kind of had the idea of the dark side scoring. He kind of liked the Hedorah mode on Godzilla, where there's like a shot that just kind of, once you start it, it's kind of just chilling, and you kind of chase it around the playfield getting extra points. And I like that idea, but I was like, but how do I make people care about it? And so that's why I tied the dark side multi-ball as an objective, where if I want to try to get, also you can get an extra ball from it, so it's kind of a thing to go for, that can get a dark side multi-ball from it. And depending on how good you did in your Vader modes, that's what determines how good the scoring is.
5% of the shot every time you hit a purple shot.
Right, and that value carries. It's any Vader mode you've successfully completed. So if you fail a Vader mode, like you get one shot away, those points won't go into your dark side value. So only ones you've completed. And then, of course, they carry. So let's say you have a really good Vader mode as your first Vader mode. You start dark side scoring, then you drain. Your next ball, you could start a lesser scoring Vader mode, like just one where you just hit a couple shots, don't care about multiplying, whatever. You just want to get done with the Vader mode. It'll reactivate dark side scoring, but all those points that you got from the first one are still in the pot. So you kind of resurrect them. And then I just wanted to mention, sorry I didn't answer back to the Jedi save. I swear it was the last time. Someone was asking if you can use it down the middle or both outlanes. The pulsing, well actually either of them, you can hit the button at any time and it will activate the magnet. So it's a completely controllable player magnet in that regard. So if you see the button has a light on it and you press the button, it is activating the magnet. So that means if you time a down the middle save, you can activate the magnet. If it goes down the out lane, you can activate the magnet. The only thing the out lane does is it triggers a little animation and it knows that it should award you points for saving the ball. But otherwise, yeah, the magnet can be used whenever. That's what's kind of cool about it, right? It's a physical save. Anyway, yeah, so dark side scoring can be huge. I know Laserlos, whenever he streams, he just goes for that, and he just shoots purple arrows like all day, and he gets crazy points, and I think it's hilarious, and it's really fun because you don't know where it's going next. Is it going over here? Going over here? Yeah, I like that.
Right. I thought I would show this just to explain a little bit, and I'm going to make the audio lower because I remember what you guys told me. So this is the...
Any lick shot starts a mode. What dictates which mode you
Still way too loud.
Sorry, family reunion. So before,
Salute family.
Better?
Well, we can't hear it at all now.
Better.
Do we need to hear it?
No.
There we
No, we
go.
don't.
That's good.
All right, so the point is he's hitting a bunch of red shots. He needs 2 more red shots after this to finish the mode.
like any shot,
He's almost there.
Yep.
And it'll actually
So he probably, he wants the Luke shot 'cause it's got an ion cannon multiplier on it.
it gives us some more options.
It also is the shot that will increase the multiplier.
like
And
right or
The
26 million.
details of the Vader mode has it's been changing with some of the code updates, and it might continue to change. But right now, any shot, as of the latest code, any shot you hit relights all the other shots. So if you want, you can just hit your 2 favorite shots.
And there's
But hitting the shot, there's the purple shot. So he completed that mode, and so now there's the dark side scoring. And
So anytime he hits a shot, he'll get 5% of what he just scored in the other mode.
I'm thinking about it.
Oh,
There it
so you
is now.
said 7 more.
Right
yeah, so now it's over there.
That's new.
Give into your hatred.
And
So-
that will run with pretty much everything. I think the only thing that it doesn't run with is when you're actually dueling Darth Vader in the I Am Your Father Wizard mode, or they never tell me your odds, never tell me the odds wizard mode, or the sort of like escape wizard mode. I think every other time it will be running.
Are you player 1 on this game, Ray?
Yeah.
Yes, but I think this is the game where Andrew ends up tripling my score.
He
Yeah,
crushed
If
it.
you can believe that.
which one's MXV? Player
Probably
4?
player 3. I'm not sure.
So my last thing I was going to say here, Ray, if you'll allow me, one humble suggestion that I at least would ask for is, would you consider, so right now with the purple shot that roves, if you drain, that purple shot goes away. I wish the purple shot would stay, and my reasoning is that for it to feel like that side quest building to the dark side multi-ball, I just don't think people will see much of the dark side multi-ball otherwise, and it's like a fun thing to see and to access and to realize you can access, and it makes you like really want to play the Vader modes, but you might disagree. I'm just one small advocate for keeping it even after ball drain.
Yeah, I mean, I could see it, but I think the way I solved that was I lowered the requirement. It used to be 15 shots, now it's just 10. And that's kind of the point of the game, is like get your Jedi saves so you can keep the money making ball going, right? With all your iron cannons and the Vader progress, which is, I guess, good for people like us. But I could see an argument where an average person will just never see it. But my counter argument to that is the average person will see the purple arrow, and they will see the thing that says this many for dark side, and maybe it will hook them and kind of give them something to chase in the game rather than just giving it away. But I don't know. It could be an adjustment. I could see, and maybe the arrow is always lit, but your value resets when you drain. I mean, I don't know. There's always possibilities.
Yeah, like otherwise I feel like I'm playing cyborg towards like a cyborg multi-ball type goal, but like the cyborg progress ends and I have to do something else to restart the cyborg process or whatever. But your mileage may vary. I see your counter argument though. Okay, that's it for mission. Last thing is miscellaneous, which will answer one of the chat's questions, which is like, hey, what about the super modes? Super spinners and all that. For me, super spinners and super modes, they are not a mode to me. You may disagree with that, but that's like I said, I have a narrow
It is kind of
definition
funny
modes.
that they're called super modes when they're not modes.
But
I will concede.
Right,
that.
and for me, like wizard modes are called modes, but like I'm not calling them my definition of mode. Like
Yeah.
I'm just saying mode is like the word mode by itself without any other adjective means something different than a super mode. Hate me if you must. That's what I say.
Yeah, so the super modes, that is started anytime you hit the same character combo twice on a ball. So if you go, right ramp to center ramp, and then do that again, right ramp to center ramp, you'll see Han Solo, the little yellow circle going from kind of pulsing, and then the second time you hit it, it'll go solid, and that will start Han's super mode, which I think is super in lanes. The super modes are loosely tied to the characters to try to help you remember what they are and for theming. So like the Yoda super mode is super.
Sorry about that.
Is that me?
Was that? No, I don't know. Sorry about that. Might have been me.
The Yoda super mode is super spinner. So people might not know that there is super spinner in the game because it's kind of hard. You have to combo into the Yoda shot twice. But when you do it, it's super satisfying, and you hear this really cool, Jerry Thompson sound effect. So the Yoda super mode is super spinners. I think the Luke super mode is super force targets, which is great to actually do when you do Luke's bonus mode, which has a phase where you have to hit force targets. So often you'll end up comboing into Luke to start your super mode and start the bonus mode, and now you've got super targets and the that bonus mode where you hit targets. The droids mode is actually inspired off of Super Life Ring on Jaws, where it's just literally that target is super. So every time you hit that target, you're getting an extra 2 million. How they work. So they're not timed. They last till the end of the ball, and you basically have this pool of points. How would I describe this? So let's say the pool is 20 million. And let's say it takes 10 shots to beat the mode. Then every shot will give you 20 million divided by 10 points, right? That pool can actually grow the more super modes you've completed. And and also, shot multipliers and whatnot. But you really want to beat the super modes, because when you beat them, then they go into your bonus, and then they can get multiplied by your bonus X. But they're basically limited in that sense, where you have a finite number of shots, and once you beat them, then they're not super anymore, and you can't really reactivate them until the next ball. So you basically can play each super mode once to full completion. But once you kind of beat the super mode, then it boosts the value of other super modes. So you kind of want to play one to completion, then do another one. Although I'm still kind of toying with that in my head. I'm like, I don't know what's better. Is it better to incentivize that, or is it better to incentivize having multiple going at once? I don't know, but the details don't really matter. Just when you're in a super mode, keep hitting that thing. Eventually, when you beat it, it will turn off, and you'll get bonus points. And they're good points, because you can only start super modes in single ball play, right? Because you can only get the combos when you're not in a multi-ball. But they last during multi-balls. So having super target, super slingshot, super pops during a multi-ball is just free points. So I really wanted to incentivize people that take the risk to actually hit combos, because I see a lot of really good players play this game, and nobody ever hits combos, because when you miss, it's deadly, right? So people will trap up, they'll backhand, trap, stop, wait, trap up, and that's fine. You can do that, but you're missing out on a lot of good super mode points.
Yeah, there's a lot of points for combos. Plus, it could help you with the jackpots later, like
Right.
you said. And so that's another thing that's great about this game, is it encourages you to play on combos if you want the big score. Okay. Now, I've got a chat is saying and laughing, because we're not even halfway done with the slides. And although chat is right, okay? Although chat is right, hold on. We've done the hardest part here first. We've covered breadth, including all the, I think we covered, now we didn't cover the mini wizard modes, but we covered all the breadth of the game, I think, Ray. What do you say about that?
Yeah. Let me just, so that it's on the record, I was going through the modes. It was super target for the droids, super pops
I can tell you.
Lando, super lanes for Han.
Right.
Oh, right, no, Obi-Wan is super pops.
Yoda super spinners, Lucas super targets, droid super droid, Lando super slings, Han is super lanes, Chewie super Sarlacc, Leia super ramps, and Obi-Wan super pops. I've done my research.
Yes, and if you there is a reason to the madness, right? Lando's normal modes use the slings, so that's how you remember that he's super slings. Obi-Wan, a lot of his missions use the pops, like his lightsaber modes and stuff. Leia's on a ramp, so super ramps. Anyway, yeah, so those are the super modes. I guess let's move on. I forgot we have another.
I got you this time, didn't I, Ray?
Oh yeah, I mean, I knew it would be long, but whew.
I'll always surprise you. It's always longer than you think. All right, but it won't be as long going forward, because we don't have to explain the code for the rest of this session here. Depth.
One more clarification. Combos are very simple. It's literally just 2-shot combos. So you hit a shot, it'll light everything on that flipper for a combo, and then if you hit something on that side, it'll light the other side for the combo. So there's not like certain special Spidey mode, like in Venom, right, where the hosts, you have a certain order. It's just two-way combos. All right.
Boom. Depth is milestones, I tell you. Events that are unlocked after achieving a set of things in the game. And this game, we said, hopefully I've proven, it has given how long it took us to go through it, just about the most breadth of almost any Stern game I could think of. But maybe top 5. But it also has top 5 for depth, in my estimation, because and the inserts sometimes actually don't make it obvious that it has this level of depth. So there's not a Jedi yet for playing all the 4 unique Rebel missions. There's some nuance there, but there's the Sarlacc escape from playing all the job events, and Never Tell Me the Odds from the Falcon features, and the Dark Side multi-ball if you get 10 of those purple shots after beating a Vader mode we mentioned. And then there's all 8 bonus missions for each character, and the Minok multi-ball, and Death Star 2 is different than Death Star 1. And then, what else is left, Ray? I know there's still Final Wizard mode in the game, but did I cover it all as what I would call depth, mini wizard modes, late game achievements for doing things?
Yes, basically anything. I like how you have this separated. It's nice. Breadth is what is level sphere 0, right? What's available right away. Depth, it means you have to work towards it. So The bonus missions you have to work towards because you have to beat a regular mode. The Never Tell Me the Odds, you have to go through the Falcon modes. Sarlacc Escape, go through the Java modes. Dark Side, multi-balls, you know, you got to go through Vader modes.
And purple shots.
And not a Jedi yet, you go through Force missions. So yeah, those, I think that's correct. That's it.
Right. And I'd even say Death Star 2 is its own unique thing. Most people don't get to see it because it's so hard. But
that's
like,
true, because you got to play Death Star 1, and then when you get to Death Star 2, it's a different version. Yeah, different mode, different multi-ball rules.
Right. And the super jackpot for that is really cool because you have to hit you have to hit the shot up the middle plus a second shot up the middle, up the jump ramp in quick succession.
Yes, yeah. So
that's
yeah,
a unique
I
rule.
thought.
Tell me about that.
I kind of stole that from Simpsons Pinball Party. I don't know if anyone's ever played Springfield Mystery Spot in Simpsons Pinball Party, where it reverses your flippers.
Yeah, that's right.
And the super jackpot on that is so brutal because to light it, first of all, you have to hit the 10 different shots, flipper shots. But the super, you have to bash open the garage and then send another ball into the garage, and the garage will close after like 5 seconds. And so I kind of use that for the Death Star 2 kind of inspiration, where you gotta, and it kind of makes sense. You know, it's not easy escaping on the Falcon away from the Death Star, so I made it. You gotta hit the Falcon twice really fast to escape from the Death Star.
I thought you might have gotten it from Lord of the Rings because of the destroy the ring. You know, you shoot one ball up the middle and you have to shoot another ball up the middle to follow it.
Yeah, that's yeah, that one is not as, I don't think that one's timed though. I think that one you just have to do it. Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, that I thought that was a cool little thing, and of course it's a little confusing at first because you see the shot lit and you hit it and nothing happens. It's like, oh wait, now it's lit more. Wait, now it's not lit as much. What is going on? And then you finally do it, and then the flippers die and it blows up, and you're like, I did it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And by the way, you were talking about Simpsons. If you want to see the greatest but also longest game of Simpsons Pinball Party ever played, it's you versus Andy Bagwell for Illinois State Championships, as I remember.
Yes, that I beat the
Game
game
7.
in the tournament as the game 7 to win the state finals.
That was
took
insane.
hours.
I stayed up all night long watching that.
That's right. It was only 2 a.m. your time.
That's right. Man, that was long. Anyway, that's it for Death, but you know, I don't want to shortchange it. It just has a lot to it. If you do all of these things that you could do early on, but you complete those things in some different ways, you just get a lot of unlocks at the end. And I love that sort of thing. It allows me to play it differently every time. If I'm at home and I have the game, I could say, now I'm only going to go to play the character mode so I could unlock the Not a Jedi Yet, but now I'm only going to do the job events because I want to see Sarlacc escape and so forth. Like, you just makes you want to focus on other things as you're playing. There's like a candy at the end of the rainbow. That's what I mean. So, okay, so that's what I had to say for Depth. On clarity, I would say players want complexity. They just somehow also want clarity. You know, you're going to hear a lot of people saying, "Oh, games have gotten too complex." I don't think they mean that. I just think I think they actually do want depth, like the breadth and the depth that we talk about. But they just want it somehow to make sense. And this game won our Clearest Lights Awards, for example, of our Pinpals Awards. And I'm not going to, because in the interest of your time, I'm not going to go through all of this, but I will say, sorry, I'm not going to skip ahead to that, but I will say, just to show it briefly, and I'm going to mute it, the reason we did give it to like rules communication through lighting, and that sort of helps with clarity, is I'm going to skip ahead here to shout out to Joel's videos. Like, he'll show exactly what you have to do. Like, hey, there's 3 lights there, so that's your lock, and those are your 3 locks, and it makes it very clear. Or, like, for example, once you're in the multi-ball, it tells you, hey, there's your super jackpot, there's a strobing shot, you know, going over there. It just makes it really, really clear through lighting effects, you know, of what you have to do. Here's the force targets, and so now all the character modes are lit. So I find it, like, it's a complicated game because modern pinball is complicated, but I think it does it as pretty darn well to kind of explain what you have to do through the inserts, through the lights, that sort of thing. What do you say to that tension, Ray, of like depth versus, and like breadth and depth versus clarity? I
mean, I think it's very important, and I try to make things very obvious when things are lit. And I think even if you don't know why something's lit, it's better that it is, and someone sees it and hits it. You got to pique that curiosity. And also, I don't like having any rule that you could never figure out without asking someone, like without looking at I mean, I'm still guilty of it. There are some things you have to look at the rule sheet for, but I really try to hide little nuggets like on the screen. Like when you hit something, it'll say, jackpot raised to this. So you could, if you wanted to, you could go back and see, oh, when I hit that yellow one, it boosted the jackpot by this much. Or, oh, when you did this, the screen said this. So you could like forensic science it if you really wanted to. But you don't have to. And that's kind of the beauty of clarity of, hey, I need to hit this. I hit it. Something happened. And state changes are really big, right? Where when you're ready to beat a mode, it goes from multiple shots lit to just the one lit. And that is a good cue of, hey, this mode's almost done, without even looking at the screen that shows you a progress bar, which progress bars also help with clarity. But I was also going to say, instead of you asking me too, we should ask Kale, since clarity is something you need to ask. You need other people that aren't you to tell you if you're doing a good job.
Kale has entered the chat.
You want to know if I think the rules are clear?
Yeah. What is your opinion on the clarity category?
Man, I don't pay attention to things that closely. I have Surge like help me out if he's there. I just hit lit shots. I know how to start a couple of multi balls. I'm not programmed that way. You know what I mean? But I have a fun time, and I have a fun time, and I love this game.
So you're never frustrated by a lack of clarity. You might not know exactly all the things that are going on, but you haven't. Are there any? Yeah, I guess I would ask. Are there any frustration? I mean, other than the Jedi save, which I guess we already talked about.
Well, the Jedi save is not a problem with me because I have a pro.
Gotcha. Right. So that solves. So then you don't even have to think about it.
Yeah. I guess one pain point. I mean, and everybody talks about it, is the Death Star shot. It's difficult, but I kind of like the difficulty because I'll coin up a game and just try that over and over and over again, trying to nail that.
Is it clear that getting the skill shot it locks a ball for you? Because that was a funny thing. We actually got service reports, multiple, of people being like, my Death Star only locked one ball and then went to lock 3, and that was when we added the skill shot code to help with that.
Oh wow, no, I didn't realize that.
There you go. So now if you get the lock on the Death Star like from a skill shot, you'll see like one of the lights turn solid and it'll say, lock 1 or lock 2. So then if you start the multi-ball, it might only have 2 in there, and then it'll kick the third one out from the plunger lane, because like you said, it's pretty hard to hit that Death Star 3 times. So if you hit it on a skill shot, that will reduce it by 1.
So on that skill shot, it just hits it just triggers that opto in front of the door, correct?
It depends on if the door is open or not. So if the door is closed, then yeah, you just have to trigger the opto and it will give you the skill shot, give you a lock. If the door is open, then you have to go in and it will give you a lock and then, lock another one as well.
Gotcha.
Well, there you have it. Clarity.
There you go, man on the street.
Now, I had one question related to clarity here, Ray, and I won't dive too deeply, I promise. And you know what? Let me just announce this. I'm going to try to land this plane within 26 minutes, okay? If you're wondering. This whole plane, I'm going to try to land it somehow.
Okay.
But I did want to use one of those 26 minutes to ask you about something a term I use, I call layering. And layering is a tricky term to define here because it can be a bit abstract. But what I mean is, like, layering looks like this, where these are game events, let's say, and how one game event contributes to other, game events, which contributes to other game events, and like they kind of all kind of layer on top of each other. So this is like a lot of layering. Or maybe like this picture, if you will, as layering goes. And maybe to better define the term, I'll give an example of a game that I would say has maximum layering. And I also want to say before I give the example, I don't think layering is bad at all. It's preference, and it also works sometimes well in some games and not in others, and it's like just how you execute it. So like a game like King Kong, for example, you're playing a mode, you're making shots. Let's say you're playing Stegosaurus mode, and as you make shots, you're also climbing, and climbing is getting close to an island lock. And island lock's also like your New York City events. And also as you're making shots, you're raising your switch meter, collecting King Kong letters, and the King Kong letters progress you towards your Deadeye skill shot mode and your T-Rex battle mode. And also while you're making shots in your mode, you've made progress in the treasure mode you were in, and then you hit a river shot and it lights an island lock, island treasure behind the drops. You get where I'm going with this, right? Like it's
I still am confused on the various types of treasures in King Kong, but luckily
they're two different
I kind of
treasures.
take the Kale approach sometimes, where it's things are happening and I'm liking them. I'm like, oh, I got another treasure of some kind.
Right, there's like treasure hunts and island treasures, but I won't use the rest of the time to go into them, even though we're happy to talk through that offline, right? But they are different. But anyway, like in that game, one thing tends to cause three other things to happen, and they all layer on top of each other. You also might be in biplane attack at some point during that, from hitting a side ramp, and so just back to Star Wars, I would say Star Wars has a lot going on, has a lot of breadth and depth. I could name just as many things there, but I would say it doesn't have. It maybe has like a minimum amount of layering. So you're not in a job event and also a character mode and also a Vader mode.
Right.
They are
Right.
held back from each other, and one doesn't make the other happen really. They're just like sort of independent trees. Is that fairly described? And maybe if you agree with my concept of layering, how do you feel about layering?
Yeah, I think that makes sense. There's a couple of things you can layer together, and like I said earlier, where you can work towards things but not start them. If you can come to like you can hit the force targets during a Java mode and light your force missions, but then you can't actually start one during the Java mode. So you got to end the Java mode, and then you can go into the force mission. So that's about how much you can interact or layer that way, where you can kind of work towards things. But then it's the layers are kind of they rub up against each other, but they don't quite. Yeah, you don't want to have too many things going on at once, and just because there's so much. Video assets and you want to keep the theme, I guess, and also, I don't know, certain things are more fun when you're focusing on them, as opposed to if I have 5 things going at once, it makes each of them 1/5 as important, right? So it's kind of
Right.
that's kind of the philosophy.
Right. By its design in King Kong, and I think it's just a purposeful decision, you're not focusing on oftentimes one thing, but in Star Wars you are. Quite
right, but
often.
it works really good on King Kong just for that specific game because the layout works that way, right? You're working multiple things and it just feels good to kind of bounce around up here and hit these targets, which do something, and the modes are like King combos or super spinner, they can kind of run in the background and it doesn't distract you that much. So yeah, it's just different games have different amounts of layering. I can buy that.
I think that's precisely right too, about just like, and that's why I asked you an earlier question to start here, which is like, how does the layout affect your decision making? And I have to imagine that more complicated, like multi-flipper layouts sometimes encourage more layering for that reason.
Yeah, I hadn't really thought about that until this revelation just now. I was thinking about it. I'm like, yeah, I guess that kind of makes sense.
Fun.
Kind of happy. Yeah.
Right. Plus, it's also theme dependent. Like you said, in Star Wars, you want to give people the theme. You want to give people the scene. And if you
right, and you don't want too many, cutting off dialogue, right, where someone starts talking and then you cut them off while they're talking. So it's easier to do if you're in one mode where it's hard for someone to hit this shot and then this shot. But if you're in 2 modes, you might have 2 shots either right next to each other or the same shot, and yeah.
Ray, I've noticed that happen. I have a D&D at home and I play it a lot. I've noticed that happen with D&D, where you'll start something and a clip will, it'll kind of, I don't know if it's a bug, but I see it happen a lot where like you do something and the clip's kind of behind what you're doing, or
layering.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's like a game choreography system where when you request something, you can either tell it to stomp whatever's going on, or you can tell it to join the queue. And I think by default, I think all our games kind of people are using the queue system. When I worked on Metallica, that game didn't really have any queues other than for mode starts, or not mode start, multi-ball starts. Those were kind of queued up because it wanted to make sure you saw the multi-ball start while it was on the cross or on the chair or whatnot. And so once I did that on Metallica, I kind of liked the idea of like, okay, this is going to take some extra work to prioritize things, but I think I like the just stomp on whatever's happening, as long as you don't have too many things happening at once. And that also influenced maybe Star Wars of why I don't want too many things going on at once, because then I'd be stomping more and more. So it kind of all worked together for why Star Wars behaves that way and doesn't queue things up. Whereas D&D, if you hit one award and then a different award, it will play the award you hit, and then the second award will kind of queue up behind it so that when the first award's done, then the second award will play, but the ball might have done something else by then. And I don't. It's just a different choice for the different games, and the queuing works nicely because then you never miss anything, and D&D has a lot of things you don't really want to miss, right? You want to see your progress as you're making through things, and whereas Star Wars, you might miss a scene, but it's not as big of a deal because there's another. You can just it's in order, so you'll pick up, from where you left off in the story, kind of thing.
Man, that's insane. There's so much that
To think
I
about,
think
right?
we don't think about that you guys have to deal with.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Star Wars Fall of the Empire has like the highest breadth to layering ratio, where it's like it gives you the most to do, but the stuff that it gives you to do is not in sequence with you, just not like fighting for prioritization.
Yeah, it's a delicate it's a juggling balance for sure. The super modes, I guess, are layered on top of everything, and the dark side award is layered on top of everything. So I like having some of those carrots for people to who want to get their stack on of like, what's the best stack in Star Wars? It's like, okay, start all the super modes, start the dark side scoring, get your light speed with your Hoth and a force mission. With an ion cannon on Luke, so that's still totally in there.
All right, so that's gonna round out clarity, and we move on now to the back half of the criteria, which somehow I'm gonna cover. We're gonna cover
18
it
minutes.
together.
Let's go.
All right, risk and reward. That's saying, are there payoffs for executing on a tough strategy? And they're very much in this game. And as a legendary tournament player yourself, playing in the World Championships in just a week or so, I know you're going to make games that encourage this. Like, you have a combo system, as you mentioned just now, that encourages you to make shots without trapping up, to get added benefits. Or, you can choose easy or hard character modes for more shot value. We mentioned that. But the harder modes have fewer shots lit. Or you can go for the risky pops because that like shot multipliers. Or modes have blue shots to progress, but you could also go for the white shots to make the blue shots more valuable, and on and on and on. Anything you'd want to add here, how you think about risk and reward here, Ray?
No, you named like 10 different things, all that are true. Basically the harder a shot is, the more it should be worth. Give the player a chance to push their luck if they want, but I also have learned you can't go too far, because if it's all risk, then it just gets kind of annoying, because it's like, well, I just lost everything, or like it's too rewardy, where it's like, oh man, there's nothing better to do in this game than to try to max out this particular thing, because it can be so juicy. So I'm going to ignore everything, and I'm going to put all my eggs in this basket. And if it doesn't work out, I'm just going to force quit the game and start over, because that's the best thing in the game, right? So you have to not have anything dominate. Like, in theory, something could have a perfect risk reward, but in practice, if it's annoying or game warping, then you gotta reel it in.
Yeah, Ray, do you guys ever talk about removing points? One of my favorite games, Who Done It, you can wager your points, right? And I made a mistake of doing that in a pinball tournament, and I never did it again.
Nah.
Yeah, I don't see why that couldn't be done.
People would hate that.
Yeah, I think generally people would not like that in tournaments. Or even at home, people would probably freak out. But I kind of like the idea. I think it would have to be done very carefully, but I don't know. It could. I think you could do it. I think Whodunit does it perfectly because it's literally you're gambling. So it's like, what did you think would happen? Like you bet on red. Like
Wesley Snipes has always bet on black from Passenger 57. That's what I remember. Anyway, I digress. But I would say, like, something, a variant on that is Elizabeth Gieske. In, like, she hasn't programmed that many games, but I see that she does do some penalizing shots a lot. They don't subtract points from your actual score, but they make shots less valuable. Like, let's say Scars, if you hit the stand-ups, they make the shots less valuable. And even in Transformers, there's one shall fall, and you have to hit the red shots and avoid, or you have to hit the purple shots and avoid the red shots. And she has multiple modes in that are kind of like Scars-esque in that sense. So it's a little bit of what you're saying, Kale. I don't know. How do you feel about that, Ray?
No, I think that is a great way to solve the problem. You're not technically removing points, but you secretly kind of are removing points.
Right.
And someone asked about Not a Jedi Yet. That one, yes, the more missions you've played, all your mission points kind of go into it. So if you hold off on it, you'll have a bigger Not a Jedi Yet score. Someone else asked, specific mode to give players high gameplay satisfaction without unbalancing scoring for tournament players. How do you determine when to dump points? Well, ideally it should be the same because what excites, like, points are points. If you get points and it excites a tournament player, I don't know why that wouldn't excite a casual player, right? Because as long as, I guess the general rule of thumb is you try to keep in that billion point is like, yeah, I got 1 billion on my Star Wars, is kind of like a benchmark we shoot for.
Here. All right, so I move on from risk and reward then. And maybe the last thing I'll say about it, though, is that you have, like, journey players, you have score-based players, and then a lot of players are both. They care about score and journey. And I think what's nice in the risk and reward here is it clearly delineates what's risk and what's just the journey. Like, the blue shots progress the mode, the white shots make them more valuable. You don't have to hit white shots. You could just hit the blue shots, but if you're scoring based...
Yeah, I did, thank you for pointing that out, because I did that with the forest missions, and then I tried to do it with the multi-ball, where if you want progress, go for combos. If you want score, go for the mission. Although that got lost a little bit because the combos are kind of hard and it's a little confusing. But trust me, if you want to get through the multi-balls, get those combos.
Yeah. All right, fair and balanced. What I mean here is, and this category kind of means a few things. Does one player's choices ruin another player's chances? There's nothing like that in here, so we're not even like anything to touch on that. But balanced is the scoring so lopsided that it makes you ignore or even time out modes. There's nothing like that in here. There's no, like, I'm going to time this mode out because I'm close to that. I don't feel that when I'm playing the game at all.
Good.
Everything.
Yeah, no, I don't think there is. I've never heard of anyone complaining or timing stuff out or having the only thing I'm keeping my eye on is the Not a Jedi Yet, because it is getting a little game warpy where people, they'll put up a 6 billion GC and like 4 billion of it will be Not a Jedi Yet, and that's a little higher ratio. I would like to keep it in like 25% ratio, where like when you get a GC, maybe up to 25% of it is from one particular thing. So I'm keeping my eye on that, but it is hard to do.
King is too much?
I think Hand of the King is too much, yeah, because you can't get that many points anywhere else, even if you play a multi-ball forever, right? I mean, maybe, I don't know. I haven't played that much Game of Thrones. I do remember that mode getting ridiculous. I don't know.
But at least I'd say, like, there's nothing so lopsided that you always do hit the same shot over and over in this game. It's not like you're going to just be hitting this shot a lot. Like, you use the playfield in this game.
Right, so that was an issue at Expo when the game first came out. People
Agree.
literally only played Hoth multi-ball
over and over again.
Because it was worth a lot of points. And people hadn't really learned the risk-reward in the other areas. Like, they didn't realize you could hit white shots and make the force missions worth a lot. The points were there, but it was so much more work to go after them versus I play multi-ball, I get 100 million repeat, right? So now it's like I made Hoth multi-ball lower base value, and also it gets harder to start. So now it's like if you want your multi-ball points, well, you're gonna have to hit more deadly targets to get, and also the points are gonna be lower. So that encourages people to check out the other areas of the game.
Yeah, that's a unfortunate thing about showing like a game in tournament early when you're still balancing for score, because that would have given the appearance, those Expo games, that it's an imbalanced game, and it's just not. It maybe wasn't very early code, but it's not there now at all. Like now you wouldn't necessarily do that. You'd do all sorts of other things, and if you didn't, somebody else would blow you up through not a Jedi or yet or whatever. So credit there, I think, on the fair and balanced. But really, that's what I was going to say about it. I mean, like you're going for the orbits if you want to let your Jedi outlane ball save, for just one example. So there's just you're doing a lot of making these shots in the game. You can't just hit up the middle because you have to hit the right ramp first if you want to go for those Han mode, the Falcon features. So there's just using the playfield there. Anything you'd want to add there, Ray? Anything else as far as balancing?
No, I think we covered it pretty good.
All right, we are on our way, believe it or not, and innovation.
We can see the runway.
You can see the runway now, right? Now you're seeing it. Innovation is something new being done with the code that we haven't seen before. And again, easy when there's like a new mech, a new use of the magnet, kind of, for example, I could point that as some innovation. But I mean that. Like this game has the most modes of any Stern game, like I mentioned. It has 4 mode trees. It has something I'm seeing as a trend now, Ray, and I'm curious your opinion. Character modes like these that have 3 levels of difficulty. So I almost see this as a new trend you started. We're seeing it again in Transformers, where you could have energized, normal, and rusted modes as sort of hard and easy and medium modes. And there have been, for years, a precursor to this sort of rules design where you could upgrade a mode before you played it. Like there's team-ups that can make a mode worth more in Deadpool or require fewer shots, and there's van mods and Foo Fighters. But this is a little bit different. This is saying that the mode itself is different depending on the difficulty level you choose. And I don't think I was seeing that as a thing much before in other pinball games before Fall of the Empire. So I'll pause there. Any earlier game I'm not thinking of, Ray, or how do you think about that?
No, I mean, I think that is definitely the first to have that sort of system with 3 difficulties of a type of a family of mode for each of the things. A lot of the innovation I think comes with how the I like to pride myself on the multipliers that we went over earlier, right? I think there's some cool stuff there.
Yep.
And the rebel assistance with the combos I think is pretty unique. And let's see.
Your single ball. Your 28 mode shot. Your 28.
That's what it was. I knew I was missing something. Yeah, apparently a 28 shot mode might be a record of some kind. So
and
proud of
the
myself on
concept of ball save checkpoints for
ball
a single
save
ball
checkpoints.
mode.
Yeah, because the mode is so long. I had to.
You had to figure.
But
a way
it
out
works.
Of
I actually
It works. It works.
All right.
So yeah, those are some things like I mean, when I'm thinking of innovation, I'm like pure zeros and ones on the code, not like having to do with a new mech that nobody's ever seen before. I just mean like things that could have been thought of before but just weren't, in any game. And so there's a few things like that I pointed out, and probably more that Death Star 2 has that 2 shots in quick succession, which is a little we talked about that earlier. But it has its own uniqueness. So I think there's multiple things, hopefully we mentioned there in innovation, and it must be hard to constantly having to do something new, but maybe that's part of the fun. What do you say to that?
Yeah, no, it is part of the fun, and when you pull it off, it's very rewarding because you're like, wow, I can't believe that worked. Like,
yeah. All right, so that's innovation. And yes, we go on to the pacing, or I'll call it Elwin Award, which is that feeling of that you're 1 or 2 shots away from something big happening, because you tend to feel that in all his games. And pacing, I think about it, can refer to either like the game events, like I was close to New York City in, King Kong or something like that, or in this game, like I was close to, not a Jedi yet, or I, almost had 1 shot from that multi-ball, or the Vader modes, or whatever it is. There's always something that you're close to right after that as a game event. And so my question there is, do you think about pacing in those terms, like Ray, like how many shots are you away from doing a thing at any point in the game?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I like the pacing, or one of the goals was so that you're never in jail ever. Like you're never forced to chop wood at anything. Now you can chop wood if that's your goal. Like if you really want to stack a force mission, but you have all 5 force targets, go for it. You can go for it. But if you just want to start anything, there's all these other things you can do. So it kind of just goes along with the breath category. But the almost had it there thing, I think there's some of that with like if you're going for, you know, the depth of the mode trees, you probably would feel that. It's a little harder. I'm a little worried that the game might be just hard where people don't realize how close they are to things and maybe they're not seeing things. So I'm trying to spread the word with like these interviews and you know, rule sheet updates and gameplay videos of like, hey, there's stuff at the end of the rainbow. Trust me.
Right.
So
the pacing only works if you know it. If you know
right.
that
So I
it's
might ding myself a little bit of maybe not having some of that. I was this close and showing it to you, or maybe there's too many things and you're not getting far enough on one of them unless you are trying for it. So I don't know. Maybe I'm just in my own head, but I don't know.
That's
Kale, you have anything to add to that?
No.
All right.
Well, if I was going to say wood chopping, it would be like this section where it's like you're like you've done some events, but now you're far away from the next event until you do a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah, no, that's a great diagram. Did you make that?
Well, Kale would say I didn't make any of this. Kale would say
you orchestrated it.
I orchestrated it, or whatever the word is. Okay, so that's pacing and game events. The other thing, last thing I'll say on the pacing is scoring. So one thing is game events, like I had this cyborg coming up or whatever it is, or a Sarlacc pit in Star Wars. But on scoring side of things, I tend to think that there is a right way for scoring to be. Maybe I'm curious if you disagree with it. Like I actually think this should be what scoring feels like. As you play the game, your score goes up, but it has an increased rate of going up as time goes on.
Yeah.
As opposed to like
I try to
wood
do
chopping.
that with the multi-balls getting better as you're playing more missions
Exactly.
just naturally because you're getting more multipliers and things.
Right, and also the Vader purple shots, 5% of your modes. Like as you're playing the
right,
game,
those
your
keep
score
growing
exponentially goes.
and yeah, and I agree. You should have some of that because once you have 2 billion, hitting a shot for 5 million doesn't feel that good. Like it just your number, you see it and it doesn't impact the score. But when you're starting a game and you're in a tournament, 5 million's like, oh, holy crap, right?
Right. Exactly. And I think Star Wars Fall of the Empire does it what I think is like the objectively right way. Some things are subjective, layering, stuff like that. But I think like games should be like this. And when games are like this, I don't think people enjoy them as much. That's my personal opinion on it. So that's scoring. And we are going to land the plane with finishing with bugs. Are you guys ready for this? It's somewhat anticlimactic, but Stern games are known for rarely having game-breaking bugs, so there's nothing to point out here other than to say there aren't game-breaking bugs in the game, but really that's why Stern games are so reliable in tournaments. But I do like to mention bugs as an important criteria all the same, because that feature of Stern games is not universally true of all new pinball games out there. And as Kale and Rachel well know, there are games from other manufacturers. We're not here to call them out, so I won't. But they put certain games at the bat, and the game looks great, it sounds great, but then suddenly freezes up or restarts or loses track of the game state. And so I say kudos here, Ray, as always, but I thought I'd ask you to finally close out here, how much of your time as a programmer is spent squashing bugs relative to everything else we've talked about, rules design and feature implementation, and can you maybe explain this process a bit at Stern for us and our viewers?
Yeah, I mean, I can't put a number on it, but it's definitely something I really care about. And if I ever see anything that bugs me, I want to get immediately fix it. Yeah, I like to think, Star Wars doesn't have any game-breaking bugs, but it probably has enough little things that are starting to annoy me, right? It's like I want to still fix them, but yeah, I do pride on our Stern platform of it knows how to handle multi-balls. Lyman wrote a lot of that early operating system stuff of keeping track of balls and a lot of the guts, and that's on the system level, so I don't even have to think about that. So the games, I just write my rules, and whenever there is a bug that I write, it's very obvious of like, oh, you bozo, when they hit that shot, it crashed the game. You should fix that. So,
Well, wonderful answer, Ray, and great job with no game-breaking bugs that I've seen on the game as we play it at the bat and reliably in all tournaments. And hopefully, with what we've done here today is we've gone through all these criteria and forcefully made the case, pun intended, that Star Wars: Fall of the Empire has great rules, great code, and I think we've done it. Kale, Ray, what else do we have to say?
I do have one.
thank
I have
you.
one quick question for Ray.
All right, but this still counts as me stopping. We can go as long as you guys want.
We landed
But
the plane. This is the taxiway. We're
I
on the
want the
taxiway.
credit.
Yeah, we can. Yeah, you always have to sit on the plane for a little bit, right?
Okay, fine.
And then, are any of you guys the people that you start standing up first when it's not even your turn?
Well, you got to get off the plane first.
You got to get off the plane. Ray, I hear a lot of people use the term pinball coder and pinball rules designer interchangeably. But from talking to you guys, I understand that like some people code the game. Actually, what do you guys use, like C++ or something like that?
Yep.
But they don't. They code it, but they don't design the rules. They just. Can you like speak on that? Because you've probably heard it too. People just, they use the terms interchangeably, coder and rule designer. Can you put this one to rest?
Yeah, I mean they're mutually exclusive, and sometimes they overlap. Sometimes the person designing the rules is the one implementing the rules, but sometimes the one designing the rules doesn't implement them; they just design them. And sometimes, someone who implements them doesn't So like Rick Nagel writes code for Keith's games, but Rick doesn't come up with the rules. He implements Keith's designs. And then often in software, we'll have wingmen. So like the lead might have a rule that they want, but they get help from the wingmen who implement what the lead had visioned for the rule. And then sometimes, you improvise here and there. The wingmen can contribute rules and collaborate and all that. And so then it gets kind of muddled. But yeah, it's a pretty straightforward concept. Like MXV is a rules designer. He's not a coder. He doesn't type code, but he pitches rules to Lonnie, to me, to anyone that'll listen. He has a great, plethora of ideas. But he doesn't actually do the software. And then Rick's, I guess, the other end of the spectrum, where Rick does all the software but doesn't come up with rules. So there you go.
Interesting. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, someone said Rick must have certain input. I mean, yeah, if like something is crazy or like he clarifies things, right? That's part of being a coder. Is when you code, you have to think of all the edge cases of, okay, you described it to me like this, but what happens in this case? And then you go back to the designer and then they'll fill in the gap. So in that essence, I guess Rick kind of has a hand in design because he brings up things that maybe the designer didn't think of. But then ultimately, it goes back and forth.
Cool.
You're here.
Thank you.
Kale,
All right.
what else you got? Anything?
Yeah, I challenge. What do you think about this, Ray? I challenge Serge to do this with Dwight about D&D, and I'll block off 7 hours of my day. Will you do it?
You're asking me? Will I do it?
Yeah.
Kale, I'll go the max.
All right,
take it to
I'll
the
ask.
extreme.
I'll ask Dwight.
I have no limit, Kale. The only limit is when I start
I
to
look
feel
forward
weird.
to that. I think that would be a great thing. Maybe I'll listen to the VOD on like 2x speed,
Right.
and just like have it in my ear while I'm working or on a long drive or something. That'd be fantastic.
Kale, if you think, and Ray, if you think he's willing to do it, I'm willing to do it.
Yeah, I'll ask him.
Okay. But more than anything, Ray, thank you so much for sitting with us for just about 3 hours, coming up on to go over, hopefully you will agree, every nook and cranny of this game and why it is objectively a very good job. And thank you so much for coming and talking through your work here.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, that was a really cool format because it did both, where you got to look at the game and learn rules at the same time. It was kind of a nice thing, and thanks for having me on.
Awesome. It's been a pleasure. Kale's usually the thing he's going to say is if you could just stay on for a few minutes after we stop so it uploads, right, Kale?
Yep, please, yes.
Okay.
But thanks everyone for joining. Kale, you want to give our sign off here if we have one?
Yeah, thank you everybody in the chat, man. This has been an absolute pleasure. Send this VOD to your friends, comment on that, and follow us on Electric Bat Arcade on Facebook, Instagram, so you'll know when more of these are coming. You guys have a good night. Thank you for joining us, Ray. This was an amazing adventure.
It sure was.
Thanks.
All
Thanks,
right, y'all
everyone.
have a good night.